If you're past 22, don't watch this commercial. It's not for you. It's Tilt, the big pinball rock movie. Tilt will take you on the pinball trail across America, where the flippers flick to the beat of solid rock and the chrome balls head for the biggest pinball battle in history. Brooke Shields is Tilt. Tilt is the big pinball rock movie.
CBS presents this program in color.
Premiering Sunday, April 2nd, Dallas, where money buys power and passion breeds conflict. Between the oldest son, his neglected wife, the ruthless yet gracious parents, the rebellious granddaughter, and the youngest son, who married the wrong woman, tearing the family apart, exposing the secrets they had hoped to hide forever. Larry Hagman, Victoria Principal, and Patrick Duffy star in Dallas. Premiering Sunday, April 2nd.
Hey, what time is it?
It's PodBlast time! That's right. It's PodBlast time. How are you? Man, we have a good show for you tonight. This is your weird, informative, and hopefully fun time capsule of memories of days gone by as we forge ahead together in the game of life. Remember the Milton Bradley board game Life? I was more of a pinball man myself. But right now, we're reminiscing about life, specifically pop culture history and life experiences that we all have in common. That's what this show, the Nostalgic PodBlast, is all about. This is the nostalgia show with a bite, because it bites. Welcome, I'm Chance Bartels, your host. No relation to Chance the Rapper. And as Steve Harvey says at the beginning of Family Feud when he hosts it, we've got a good one for you today. Now, this installment of the Nostalgic PodBlast takes you back in time to the arcade. Literally. I have unearthed footage I shot of an arcade with this camcorder, my JVC camcorder, back in March of 1988. It's only about a minute and a half long, where you're going to see a real life arcade. We're going to talk about the history of arcades and the history of pinball. But the main topic, we're going to talk about 15 pinball machines that were based on motion pictures in the cinema. This is part one of several parts, because there's about 40 or so. And so we're just going to cover 15 tonight, and I have clips of the actual gameplay, pictures, movie posters about the movies that the games are about, and all that good stuff. So, and also I shot video today of one of my pinball machines, Indiana Jones, the Pinball Aventure, which is a prototype, and I removed the glass so I could get the camera really up close and personal. And I cheated, actually. And I manually touched the targets to show you a lot of what this Indiana Jones pinball machine and game can do in terms of the sound effects. And there's 3 video game modes within this particular game. And as I just mentioned, it is a prototype. So it has things in it that the arcade model, and even the model they had at one time at Walt Disneyland in the Indiana Jones roller coaster ride and Raiders of the Lost Ark roller coaster ride gift shop. Mine is better than the one they actually had. I'll explain later. But we want to talk a little bit about the history of pinball machines for a moment. Now, the history of pinball machines varies by the source. These machines definitely arrived in recognizable form prior to World War II. The opinions on the relevance of the earlier prototypes vary depending on the definition of the pinball machine. For example, some researchers like Stephen L. Kent, as in Clark Kent, declare that the history begins in the 1930s when Goodleb, Baffleball, and Raymond Maloney's Ballyhoo were manufactured in large quantities. Now, Roger Sharp, with an E at the end, Sharp, a pinball historian, asserts that the origin of pinball lies in Redgrave's patents for the spring plunger, and that's the thing you pull to release the ball on the playfield of the pinball game, and playfield bells, which he patented in 1871. Another historian, Richard M. Bushell, traces the history of pinball back to the 1500s when the table versions of the garden bowling games were invented. Pro-modern development of outdoor and tabletop ball games consists of the origins of pinball intertwined with the history of many other games. Games played outdoors by rolling balls or stones on a grass course, such as bocce or bowls, eventually evolved into various local ground billiards games played by hitting the balls with sticks and propelling the balls at targets, often around obstacles. Croquet, golf, and Pall Mall eventually derived from ground billiards variants. The evolution of outdoor games finally led to indoor versions that could be played on a table, such as billiards or pool, if you will, or on the floor of a pub, like bowling and shuffleboard. The tabletop versions of these games became the ancestors of modern pinball. In France, during the long 1643 to 1715 AD reign of Louis XIV, billiard tables were narrowed with wooden pins or skittles at one end of the table, and players would shoot balls with a stick or a cue from the other end, in a game inspired as much by bowling as billiards. Pins took too long to reset when knocked down, so they were eventually affixed to a table, and holes in the table's bed became the targets, and players could ricochet balls off of the pins, bing, 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 to achieve the more challenging scoreable holes. A standardized version of the game eventually became known as bagatelle. Somewhere between the 1750s and the 1770s, the bagatelle variant, billiard, jarnal, or Japanese billiards in English, was invented by Western Europe, despite its name. Also, it was called Strasspudel. It used thin metal pins, replaced the cues at the player's end of the table with a coiled spring and a plunger. The player shot balls up the inclined playfield towards the scoring targets using this plunger, a device that remains in use in pinball to this day, except my Indiana Jones of Pinball Adventure doesn't have a plunger. It has a gun that fires the ball. Anyway, the game was also directly an ancestral game to pachinko. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures of some primitive pinball machines really quickly right here. Here are the ancestors of modern pinball. Okay, here's the billiard French version I just talked about. Look at that table. Isn't that cool? Now, here is the patent model for U.S. patent number 115. See the plunger on the right? Now, listeners, if you want to see what I'm showing and referencing, simply Google search the Nostalgic with a C, Nostalgic, the Nostalgic PodBlast. Click the live tab, and then you'll see an image of an Indiana Jones Pinball Adventure in the thumbnail. Click that, and you can see what we're talking about. And I will have some cue marks later in the show after it's live. Look, here's an early pinball game without flippers. Isn't that interesting? So back to the history of the game. In the year 1869, a British inventor, Redgrave, settled in the United States, and he manufactured the bagatelle games in Cincinnati, Ohio. In 1871, Redgrave was granted U.S. patent number 115357 for his improvements in bagatelle or bagatelle. Another game, let me show you that photo again. I'll pull that up really quickly. There is his patent. There's his patented game. Another name for the spring launcher that was first introduced in this game. The game also shrank in size to fit atop a bar or a counter. The balls became marbles and the wickets became small metal pins. Redgrave's popularization of the spring launcher that releases the ball and innovations in game design like the playfield bells are acknowledged as the birth of pinball in its modern form. By the 1930s, manufacturers were producing coin-operated versions of bagatelles or bagatelles, however you want to pronounce it, now known as marble games or pin games. The table was under glass and used Redgrave's plunger device to propel the ball into the upper playfield. In 1931, David Godeleb's baffle ball became the first hit of the coin-operated era. Selling for $17.50, the game dispensed 5 to 7 balls for 1 penny. Hence a penny arcade. At its peak, Godeleb produced 400 baffle ball machines per day and established the company as the first major manufacturer of pinball machines. In 1932, Godeleb distributor Raymond Maloney found it hard to obtain more baffle ball units to sell. There was more demand than supply. In his frustration, he founded Lion Manufacturing to produce a game of his design, Ballyhoo, named after a popular magazine at the time. The game became a smash hit. Its larger playfield and 10 pockets made it more challenging than baffle ball, selling 50,000 units in just 7 months. Maloney, his last name is spelled Moloney, eventually changed the name of his company to Bally to reflect the success of this game. These early machines were relatively small, mechanically simple, and designed to sit on a counter or a bar top. The 1930s saw major advances in the pinball design with the introduction of electrification. Pacific Amusements in Los Angeles, California produced a game called Contact in 1933, which had an electrically powered solenoid to propel the ball out of a bonus hole in the middle of the playfield. Another solenoid rang a bell to reward the player for hitting the target. Contact's designer, Harry Williams, eventually formed his own company, Williams Manufacturing, in 1944. Other manufacturers quickly followed suit with similar features. Electric lights soon became standard on all pinball games to attract players. By the end of 1932, approximately 150 companies manufactured pinball machines, most of them in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago has been the center of pinball manufacturing ever since. Competition was strong. And by 1934, only 14 companies remained that made pinball machines. During World War II, all major manufacturers of coin-operated games turned to manufacturing for the war effort. Some, like Williams, bought old games from operators and refurbished them, adding new artwork with a patriotic theme. At the end of the war, a generation of Americans looked for amusement in bars and malt shops, and pinball saw another golden age. Improvements such as the tilt sensing mechanism, which just hangs at the base of a little round metallic shape, and if it touches this anywhere when the game is shook, it freezes the game and it shuts down temporarily. Anyway, that was the tilt sensing mechanism. And also they added the awarding of free games, replays. Remember that? And I love songs about pinball, and I love Tommy by The Who, Pinball Wizard, Elton John. Oh man, I love the game. Anyway, so there was a game called Humpty Dumpty by Godeleb, introduced in 1947. I have a photo of it right here. I want to show you all. There's Humpty Dumpty. There's a little press release. And this game was very significant. From 1947, it was the first pinball game to add player-controlled flippers to keep the ball in play longer. The low-power flippers required 3 pairs around the playfield to get the ball to the top of the playfield. There was another game called Triple Action. That was the first game to feature just 2 flippers at the bottom of the playfield. Now, unlike in modern machines, the flippers faced outwards. These flippers were made more powerful by the addition of a DC, direct current power supply. These innovations were some of many by designer Steve Kordek, spelled with a K, Kordek. Steve Kordek made those innovations. The first game to feature the familiar dual inward-facing flipper design was Gudeleb's game titled Just 21, released in January of 1950. However, the flippers were rather far apart to allow for the ball shooter at the bottom center of the playfield. Another game from 1950 by Gudeleb titled Spot Bowler was the first with inward-facing flippers placed close together, like in modern pinball machines. The post-World War II era was dominated by Gudeleb pinball manufacturing. Game designers Wayne Nyans and Ed Krinsky with artist Leroy Parker produced games that collectors consider some of the best classic pinball machines of all time. The introduction of microprocessors brought pinball into the realm of electronic gaming. The electromechanical relays and scoring reels that drove games in the 1950s and 1960s were replaced in the 1970s with circuit boards and digital displays that displayed the score. Remember how the scores would roll? Well, then they became digitized. The first pinball machine to use a microprocessor was a game called Flicker, a prototype made by Bally pinball makers in 1974. Bally soon followed that with a solid-state version of Bow and Arrow in the same year, 1974, with a microprocessor board that would be used in 8 other machines until 1978, which included the games 8-Ball, which is about shooting pool, and there was a sequel to it, 8-Ball Deluxe, down the line. But we're talking 1978, in which 8-Ball was introduced, the machine that held the sales record from 1977 until 1993. Did you know that? I didn't know that until I researched tonight's PodBlast. I'll say it again. Bally followed that up with solid-state version of Bow and Arrow in the same year with a microprocessor board that would be used in 8 other machines until 1978, which included 8-Ball, the machine that held the sales record from 1977 until 1993. The first solid-state pinball machine is believed by some to be Micro Games. That's a manufacturer, Micro Games game that they made titled The Spirit of 76, as in 1976, the bicentennial year of the USA. Though the first mainstream solid-state game was Williams' Hot Tip in 1977. This new technology led to a boom for Bally and Williams, who attracted more players with games featuring more complex rules, digital sound effects, and actual speech, recorded speech that you could hear. Now, the video game boom of the 1980s signaled the end of the boom for pinball. Let me take this picture off. But pinball would be back. So the video game boom of the 1980s, really, you had well, we'll talk all about arcade games in another edition of the Nostalgic PodBlast, but the most popular game, I know Space Invaders and Asteroids, but Pac-Man, certainly. And that actually was released in 1980. That was a thing that really started to overshadow pinball machines at that time. But pinball, of course, came roaring back. But that video game boom of the 1980s signaled the end, temporarily, of the boom for pinball. Arcades replaced rows of pinball machines with video games like 1978 Space Invaders, 1979's Asteroids, 1980's Pac-Man, and 1981's Galaga. I love Galaga. By the way, my favorite version of Galaga, was on Nintendo. It looked just like the arcade game. That was like the first game you could get at home that really looked like the arcade. Now, the Atari 5200 seen behind me here, anyone that's watching, I have pole position in my Atari 5200 console, but I have almost all the 5200 games in my collection, but that's besides the point. But I thought Pac-Man was pretty good, Pac-Man with the 5200, but it was too wide. It didn't look the same as the arcade. But Galaga, man, I loved playing that in college. My roommate had Galaga. I never had Galaga, but man, that was a great version. It looked just like the arcade. Anyway, these video games that I just mentioned earned significantly greater profits than the pinball machines of the day, while simultaneously requiring less maintenance. Yeah, pinball machines, they can break. So there's so many components that can break in a pinball machine, but that's why I love pinball. I love the eye-hand coordination aspect of it. And I'm really not a big fan of the digital version of pinball machines, because the tilt mechanism isn't real. Like, sure, it has a tilt built in, but you can't sense the real motions of a human player like that. No way. Let me take a breath here. But even though the popularity of pinball was overshadowed by the popularity of video games of the early 1980s, and they were more profitable, Bally, Williams, and Gudaleb continued to make pinball machines, thank goodness, while also manufacturing video games in much higher numbers. I love the putt-putt miniature golf course here in Marietta, Georgia. When I grew up, I remember being in 5th grade, and I loved putt-putt. I loved to play miniature golf, but it had an arcade in there. And unfortunately, they allowed smoking. It reeked of cigarettes in that place. It was worse than a cruise ship casino. It smelled horrible. Smelled like an ashtray, but I loved putt-putt, and they had tons of pinball as well as video games at that time. I remember the year 1982. I was just a kid. I was so mesmerized. I was so sad when it closed, that putt-putt location. Anyway, I digress. So Bally, Williams, and Gudaleb continued to make pinball machines while also manufacturing video games in much higher numbers. Like Williams made Defender, the video game Defender. That's an example of something that they made that was a game I loved, a great video game. Of course, Atari was really the top dog in terms of video games of the early 1980s. So many great Atari games. Centipede. Oh, man, I love Tempest. But let me get back on track, because I don't want to be here all night. And I know you don't have the time either to be here all night. Best thing I can advise you to do if you're enjoying the subject matter and the history in a particular edition of the Nostalgic PodBlast, this program, watch it in stages. I'll try to put, like I said, timestamps so you can stop it and restart it at your convenience. Now, anyway, getting back to the history of pinball, many of the larger companies were acquired by or merged with other companies. Chicago Coin was purchased by the Stern family, who are still around today and are still making pinball, who bought the company and brought the company into the digital era. They formed Stern Enterprises, which closed its doors, that form of the company, in the mid-1980s. Bally exited the pinball business in 1988 and sold their assets to Williams, who subsequently used the Bally trademark from then on for about half of their pinball releases. Correct, because I remember Elvira and her Party Monsters, that had the Bally name, but it had the Williams feel, and that was a 1989 game. Loved it. I love the Bally games. I remember Dr. Dude. Yeah, Dr. Dude pinball had the Bally moniker on it. I think that's a 1992 pinball game. In college, there was a donut shop that had it. And it's like donut shop. I was about to say lobby, but I would play that all the time. Now, while the video game craze of the late 1970s and 1980s dealt a severe blow to pinball's revenue, it sparked the industry's creative talents. All companies involved tried to take advantage of the new solid-state technology to improve player appeal of pinball and win back former players from video games. In fact, many games had video game modes in them. Pinball machines had video games built within the game itself, like my Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure. I will show you some of the video that I recorded today of my game and show you the differences of my prototype version versus the mainstream streamlined version that was mass produced and manufactured. Now, some of this creativity resulted in landmark designs and features still that you can find to this day. Some of these include speech, such as the Williams pinball game Gorgar, which had great artwork. It showed like a demon on the back glass where you see the score. The back glass, for those that don't know, that's where you see the score. And it usually would have really nice artwork literally on glass. So Gorgar included speech and ramps for the ball to travel around. Another good example is Williams' Space Shuttle, which integrated multi-ball. Like Williams' Firepower game, there were multiple levels. I remember a game called The Haunted House that was really cool. Remember Haunted House? That featured multiple level. And there were games like Gudalev's The Black Hole, based on the movie. We're talking about pinball machines based on movies. Black Hole is a great example. And also you had Williams' Black Knight that had multiple levels. I like Black Knight 2000. That was a game that Williams manufactured in 1990, a sequel to Black Knight. I prefer that, and it had a third flipper on an upper level. It also had blinking chase lights as used on Bally's Xenon, Xenon. Although these novel features did not win back players as the manufacturers had hoped they would. They changed the player's perception, though, of pinball for decades. During the 1980s, pinball manufacturers navigated technology with changes while going through some of the changes of ownership and mergers. Gudalev was sold to Premier Technologies, and Bally merged with Williams, as I mentioned earlier. The video game crash of 1983 made manufacturers refocus on their pinball sales. A trend started of pinball becoming increasingly elaborate to use more computing resources following video games. Games in the latter half of the 1980s, such as High Speed from 1986, great game. I played it at Atlantic Square Mall in their arcade, started incorporating full soundtracks, elaborate light shows, and back box animations, a radical change from the previous decade's electromechanical games. Although pinball continued to compete with video games in arcades, pinball held a premium niche, since video games of the time could not reproduce an accurate pinball experience. By the first years of the 1990s, pinball had made a strong comeback and saw new sales highs. One of the games I loved from 1990 was Williams' Funhouse, that featured Rudy, who was basically a ventriloquist dummy head who would spit out the ball and talk to you. That was a cool game. Some new manufacturers entered the field in the early 1990s, such as Capcom Pinball and Alvin G and Company, founded by Alvin Gudalev, the son of David Gudalev. Gary Stern, the son of Williams co-founder Sam Stern, founded Data East Pinball with funding from Data East Japan. I remember 1989's Data East Simpsons pinball game, The Simpsons, but I didn't like it because they used a lot of plastics instead of metal and wood. But some of their games aren't bad. But Data East, back when I was really into pinball and when I was in college, I just didn't think it had the same appeal as a Williams or a Bally game. And I loved where you could go to a bowling alley and find a pinball machine. Now, they're starting to come back these days, but it was sad when they kind of went away. Most bars had a pinball machine in the 1990s, specifically in the early 1990s. And, of course, you had arcades as well. The games from Williams now dominated the industry with complicated mechanical devices and more elaborate display and sound systems, attracting new players to the game. Licensing popular movies and icons of the day became a staple for pinball, with Bally Williams, The Addams Family from 1992, hitting a modern sales record of 20,270 machines manufactured. In 1994, Williams commemorated this benchmark with a limited edition Addams Family Gold pinball machine, in which they made only 1,000 units, featuring a gold-colored trim and updated software with new game features. Other notable popular licenses included Indiana Jones, The Pinball Adventure, which I have in my collection, and Star Trek, The Next Generation. Now, those had wide cabinets, the wood cabinets that housed the electronics. That had a wide field, just like Twilight Zone by Bally in 1993. Those were the three main ones, the most popular ones that had that wide cabinet. Star Trek, The Next Generation, Indiana Jones, The Pinball Adventure, and The Twilight Zone. But before that, there was a game called Space Invaders, based on the video game. That was a rare instance. I'm using this from memory. I think it was a 1981 pinball release, and you saw it in the Captain Marvel movie from 2018, starring Brie Olson. And you saw on the scroll spaceship, there was a Space Invaders pinball machine. I have a picture of me playing it. Darn it, I meant to pull that. I'll try to pull it by the end of the show. You see me when I was a kid, I think I was 9 or 10 years old, playing that at a roller rink. That was another place you could see pinball, a roller skating rink in the arcade. Great, great fun. So expanding markets in Europe and Asia helped fuel the revival and interest of pinball. There were awesome artists and designers like Pat Lawler. He worked for Williams until their exit from the industry in 1999. Williams went on to, and still manufactured slot machines for Vegas. They went where the money was, and they sort of exited the pinball arena. About a year later, in the year 2000, Pat Lawler returned to the industry, starting his own company, working in conjunction with Stern Pinball to produce new games. By the end of the 1990s, we saw another downturn in the industry, with Gudaleb, Capcom, and Alvin G closing by the end of 1996, the year Atlanta, my city, had the Olympic Games. Data East's pinball division was acquired by Sega and became Sega Pinball in 1994. By 1997, there were two companies who left, Sega Pinball and Williams. In 1999, Sega sold their pinball division to Gary Stern, president of Sega Pinball at the time, who called his company Stern Pinball. By this time, Williams games rarely sold more than 4,000 units. In the year 1999, Williams attempted to revive sales with the Pinball 2000 line of games, merging a video display into the pinball playfield. I remember there was a Pac-Man game that had a video game component and pinball all in one. The reception was initially good with this integration, with Revenge from Mars selling well over 6,000 machines. I have an image of that back glass art I want to show you now. It's right here. See if I can find it. Here's Attack from Mars. Now, I think this was from 1995, this machine. I think it was inspired by Mars Attacks, the movie. Here's the Attack from Mars art. That's like a nice little sales brochure for the game. I really like that a lot. That's cool. So, that's a cool game. Let's see. You had Star Wars Episode 1 based on the 1999 movie of the same name. That sold about 3,500 machines. So that was disappointing. Williams exited the pinball business on October 25th, 1999 to focus on making gaming equipment for casinos, which was more profitable. They licensed the rights to reproduce Bally Williams parts to Illinois Pinball and reproduce full-size machines to the Pinball Factory. Stern Pinball remained the only manufacturer of original pinball machines until 2013, when Jersey Jack Pinball started shipping The Wizard of Oz. Most members of the design teams for Stern Pinball are former employees of Williams Pinball Manufacturing of Chicago, Illinois. Amid the 1990s closures, virtual pinball simulations marketed on computers and home consoles, they become high enough in quantity and quality for serious players to take notice. These video versions of pinball, such as Epic Pinball, Full Tilt Pinball, and Pro Pinball series, found marketplace success and lasting fan interest. They started a new trend for realistic pinball simulation. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't know who would like that. The market existed largely independently from the physical pinball manufacturers and relied upon original designs instead of licenses until the 2000s. So there's your history lesson. I'm going to cut it short because I have a lot more, but I just think it's not that interesting. That's enough in terms of the origin of pinball and the history of pinball. Now, just some quick components. I already mentioned some of these, but the cabinet of a pinball machine is traditionally the wooden frame, and it's shaped like a box, and it has the play field laid inside of that. That's where you hide the electronic components that you see there in that photo. The back box or head or light box is the vertical box atop the cabinet opposite the player's position. It usually consists of a wooden box with colorful graphics and artwork on the side of a large back glass in the front. The back glass usually has very stylized graphics related to the game. The playfield. The playfield is the surface, inclined upward usually at 6.5 degrees away from the player, and includes multiple targets and scoring objectives. Some operators intentionally extend threaded levelers on the rear legs, which can be shortened to remove the levelers on the front legs to create additional incline in the playfield, making the ball move faster and makes the game harder to play. The ball is put into play by the use of a plunger, a spring-loaded rod that strikes the ball as it rests in an entry lane, or, as in some newer games, by a button that signals the game logic to fire a solenoid that strikes the ball. With both devices, the result is the same. The ball is propelled upwards onto the playfield. Once the ball's in play, it tends to move downward toward the player, although the ball can move in any direction, sometimes unpredictably, due to contact with objects on the playfield or by the player's actions. To return the ball to the upper part of the playfield, the player uses one or more flippers. Manipulation of the ball may also be accomplished by various tricks, such as nudging the game. However, excessive nudging is generally penalized by losing the current player's turn. That's known as tilting, and it shuts the whole game down temporarily. This penalty was instituted because nudging the machine too much may damage it or result in unearned play and scoring, plus wear on game parts. Many games also have a slam tilt in the bottom of the cabinet to end the entire game if the cabinet is raised or dropped to the floor in an attempt to trigger coin counting falsely. I never heard about that or knew anyone to do that, to like pick up the machine so it would register. They don't know the physics of it. That could never work. Slamming the game, it would never result in a free game. But what I like about pinball is that when I was a kid, a lot of people would walk away from the game. They'd walk away from the pinball machine when they had a replay. It had a credit on the game, and I love that. It was such a treat as a kid. You just hit that button. Oh my God, it's got a credit on it, and you play the game. A lot of fun. Okay, so I think it's about time to start talking about pinball machines based on movies and show some clips of the games in action. Oh, I didn't real quick about the flippers. Okay, of course, flippers allow the player to redirect the ball. The flippers are one or more mechanically or electromechanically controlled levelers, roughly 3 to 7 centimeters in length, used for redirecting the ball up the playfield. Okay, that's kind of common sense, common knowledge. So, and I already mentioned this, the very first pinball games appeared in the early 1930s, and they did not even have flippers. Okay, we talked about that, or I mentioned that. And then bumpers, real quick. Bumpers are round knobs that, when hit, will actively push the ball away. And, so hopefully it'll go down the drain, so you put more quarters into the machine to keep playing, or to play again if you don't score a replay. There's also slingshots and kickers with rubber bands around them. Not rubber bands like a rubber band like you'd have in an office, but they're thicker rubber, literally bands. You've seen them, and they can switch and shake that ball all over the playfield. And then targets are obviously what you want to go for, typically ramps or targets in the playfield to score more points or to activate a feature like multi-ball, in which there's more than one ball in play. There's holes and saucers. Those are targets. Spinners and rollovers. I think you understand what that is. Switches, gates, and stoppers. This is, I'm talking to the layman here or someone that's younger that may not know what pinball is. There's ramps. Talked about that. You know what ramps are. It's pretty self-explanatory. And there's also magnets. So magnets, that was tricky. The first game I played that had a magnet in it was 1989's Earthshaker by Williams. And it would move the ball around. Now, Addams Family, the number one selling game of all time, has one during multi-ball, and it makes it so difficult to hit the target and get the jackpot. I mean, that magnet is really powerful in that game, the Addams Family. Okay, let me see. Now, we're going to go in alphabetical order. I'm just going to talk about 15 pinball machines tonight. I think I've explained the game and the history of it well enough. I didn't really talk about the features. Obviously, you know about the extra ball. If you hit a target, you can get an extra ball in most games. Most modern games certainly all have the extra ball feature, and you can deactivate the extra ball feature, though. That's the thing. With electronic games, you can program the game to have the factory settings, or you can customize it. Pinball games used to have 5 balls per game. Now they're 3 balls per game. But I can program Indiana Jones up to 10 balls per game. That's the limit. But I have mine set to 5-ball play for when I have company over. Okay. This is all technical, but there's a dot matrix display system that helps show graphics and the scores. I won't get into that. It's pretty technical. Let's see. And then there's also a special, which gets you a free game. That's not the replay. A special is when you've accumulated enough points, or you've activated a feature where if the ball goes over a target, that when special is lit, you get a free game. That's the special. I used to love to get a special when I was paying to play pinball. There's also trapping. That's a technique more advanced players learn to do, where you press the flipper button so it's upright, and you trap the ball so that you can release the flipper when you press the button and then shoot it up a ramp or wherever you want the ball to go. That's called trapping. Trapping the ball. Okay, let me go and see where I am with what I prepared. Okay, we're going to bypass that. Finally, we're going to talk about movies pinball machines based on movies and the movies they're based upon. And let me show you some great video. Okay, let's start in alphabetical order. Alphabetical order with this game. Let me pull up a graphic. I'm going to show you some artwork for this one. This is the Addams Family. All right, there's the movie poster. There's the Addams Family movie. And there is a nice little promo for the pinball game. But the movie, let's talk about the movie very briefly. The Addams Family. Let's see, the movie was released by Paramount Pictures on November 22nd, 1991. The budget was $30 million, but it earned $191.5 million at the box office. It was a big, big hit. And it spawned the sequel, Addams Family Values. And Raul Julia, God rest his soul, was awesome as Gomez. Loved it. Okay, and I thought his performance was great. So let me see here. About the game, I want to tell you about Addams Family Pinball Machine, but I'm going to show you there. There's a graphic of it that I showed previously, and there's the play field for Addams Family. This is the one that's got the magnet. Now here's the pert dirt on the Addams Family pinball game. It was released in March of 1992. It was designed by Pat Lawler and Larry Damar, and it was released by Midway under the Bally label. And of course, it was based on the 1991 film of the same name, and features custom speech, mostly derived from sampling of audio from the motion picture by the stars of the film, Angelica Houston and Raul Julia, respectively. Also, you did hear Christopher Lloyd. His voice is very prominent in that game. And of course, he played Uncle Festa. And this is the best-selling solid-state pinball machine of all time, selling 20,270 units. That's how many were made. Let's see here. The artwork was by John Youssi. Youssi is how you spell his last name. The mechanics were by John Crutch, Krutsch. The music was by Chris Granner. I love Chris Granner. He did the music for one of the games I owned, Cyclone, which is based on an amusement park. He's awesome. And he also did the sound. All right, so I told you already about that collector's edition. In October 1994, Bally produced a special collector's edition, often referred to as the Addams Family Gold. All right, so some features. There's a Seance Mansion Award in the Gold Edition that could be randomly designated as a super seance, with the ramp values increased to 10, 15, or 20 million points. Some other differences with the Gold Edition. Some rooms would randomly award an item belonging to Cousin It, such as his hat or car keys, and had a bonus consisting of points, a lit extra ball, or a lit special, which is a free game. The item was given in addition to the award for the flashing room. There's other differences too, but let me just show you some video. Let's look at some video of the Addams family in operation. I love the sound effects. And while I do that, I will look at the chat and do some things behind the scenes I need to do. So let me switch here to our video. This is the Addams family, the #1 selling and most manufactured pinball machine of all time. Here it is in use, and you can enjoy some of the sound effects. This is a 4-minute, 24-second clip. I don't think I'll play the whole thing. I think it'd be kind of boring, especially for listeners, but it might be interesting for those listening at Fistful of Radio out of Atlanta, Georgia, Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and in the evening, Wednesday and Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Here we go, the Addams Family pinball machine in action.
Welcome, honored guests.
Let's go, baby.
Go, man.
Let's go, man. Gold man. Why, thank you, baby.
Go, man.
Now you've done it. Gold man. Get the jackpot. Jackpot.
Go, man.
enjoy this awesome video, guys, remember to please like, comment, and subscribe. And as Retrodu says,
that's right. You deserve that plug, my friend. So that's Addams Family. It made me feel like I was playing it. It's like pin porn, if you will. All right, so there's that one. That's the Addams Family, the #1 game of all time. And let me see here. Where are we now? So let's start or continue with our second pinball machine based on movies out of 15 we're going to feature in this edition of the Nostalgic PodBlast with a game based on this hit film. I'm going to show you a movie poster now. Whoops. And reveal. And we'll show you a clip of this game in action as well. In alphabetical order, we're talking about this movie, Apollo 13. Great film. Starring Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Bill Paxton, the late, great Bill Paxton, who was in Weird Science, and Gary Sinise and Ed Harris. So, a couple quick notes about the film, Apollo 13. It was distributed by Universal Pictures, released on June 30th, 1995 in the United States of America. It's 140 minutes, so that's 2 hours, 20 minutes long. Its budget was $52 million, but it earned $355.2 million. So it was a huge success. Now let's talk about the pinball game based on the movie. Sega Pinball manufactured the game. And the game artwork, let me show you a little brochure. There you go. Apollo 13 pinball machine. There's some artwork for it. And it had some interesting aspects to this game. It operated on the Sega White Star system. It was designed by Joe Kaminkow, Kaminkow, and Joe Balcer, Balcer. Programmed by Lonnie D. Ropp and Orrin Day. The artwork was by Mark Raneses, Raneses, and Jeff Bush, Busch, like Bush beer. Bush, head for the mountains. The mechanics were by Joe Balcer, John Borg, like the Borg in Star Trek The Next Generation, and Rob Hurtado, Hurtado. Hurtado. The music was by Brian L. Schmidt that you're about to hear, and the sound was also by Brian L. Schmidt. And, of course, it was based on the movie Apollo 13. After starting a game, you have a choice of regular or novice mode, which is kind of cool. It's a cool feature of this particular machine. Let me show you another piece of artwork from it. I'll show you an image. Let me show you an image of the machine itself. There you go. There's the side. That's a nice side angle of the game itself. So some quick features about this. Let's see. You can choose the regular or novice mode. The regular is normal 3-ball play. Novice is timed play, where the player has 2 minutes when any drained balls are auto-plunged, and after the 2 minutes expire, the game is over when the balls on the field drain. Right down the middle. You can start a game in league mode by holding the left flipper button in while starting a game. And there's also wizard mode, which can be achieved by holding the right flipper button in. There are 9 missions after doing all of them. There's 9 missions, and after completing all 9 of these missions, the master alarm is lit at the right saucer target. The missions are Orbiter, CO2, Manual Burn, Rocket 2-Ball, Moon's Gravity, Undervolt, Life Support, Docking, and Light Extra Ball. Okay, let's look at a clip of the game in play. This is the Apollo 13 pinball game. Take that off. And here we go. Little 52-second clip there. Isn't that cool? 13 ball multi-ball. I thought I was doing good with my Indiana Jones the Pinball Adventure with the 6-ball multi-ball, but 13 as in Apollo 13, that is pretty wicked. Hey, I didn't acknowledge the chat. Let me see who's out there watching live. I haven't done that. I was looking at my script prepared. I'm not ignoring anybody. I want you to know that if I don't read your comment in a timely manner, it's not intentional. I'm not doing it to be rude or to ignore you. It's because that's why I need a co-host or someone to help me with the show, because then I could acknowledge the chat in a more timely manner. But let's do our acknowledgement segment really quickly, and we'll get back to another pinball game, the third of 15 that we're going to feature tonight based on popular movies. Let's see.
You have a good day today, friends. Yeah. I did.
I had a Superman day.
You had a Superman day? Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Spider-Man day.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. Well, you know what? Wait! You know what time it is? It's time for me to see the friends at home in the magic mirror. Romper bumper, stomper boo, tell me, do. Magic mirror, tell me today, did all my friends have fun at play? All my friends had fun today. I see David's having a special day today, and Olivia Joy had a special day on Sunday, and I see Robin had a special day yesterday, and Dana's having a special day today, and so is Reginald and Edward John and Margaret, and I see Justin and Megan and Courtney and Brick and Mark and Rachel and Sheila and Caroline are all having special days, and Cicely and Ashley and Matthew and Jose, and I see Bonnie and Anthony and Joe had special days yesterday, and so did Tammy and Brandon and Gregory, and of course, friends, you know I see you, and I'll see you again.
Little technical note, for some reason that clip is in mono, and I found one in stereo, a different clip from that Romper Room segment, but it won't convert to StreamYard. Anyway, the little technical thing. Hey, I want to say hey and read some of these comments to the listeners. Danny Staten in South Carolina says, I've arrived. Southern California, Sarah is here watching on my Facebook Live platform. And now BK on there, he's got a really cool radio show every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern time. I want you to check out if you've not heard of it. It's really good. It's called BK on the Air. His name's Barry King. He is a big pinball fan, and he says he liked Jokers. That was a Williams game from 1988. I loved Jokers. Woo! There was a sound effect of a woman going, woo, when you got multi-ball. And Jokers, I would play that endlessly at a little bar called Charlie Magruder's in the 1990s here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. They had Jokers there. I loved that game. Now, High Speed, I love that one too. That was at Lenox Square Mall in the late 1980s and early 90s. I mentioned that in my history of pinball. That was a revolutionary game, and it spawned a sequel in 1992. The Getaway, High Speed 2, I think that was loosely based on the movie The Getaway, the remake anyway, with Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger. And of course, the original, that was a Steve McQueen movie. But he liked Whirlwind. See, this guy and I are on the same page, I'd say 99% of the time. That was a great game, Whirlwind. That was part of a trilogy. That was part of the Earthshaker Whirlwind, the Disaster trilogy. And I loved Whirlwind 2. That's a 1989 Williams game. And they had a little fan on top, so it'd cool you off, actually. I got to give a shout out to a couple places that still have pinball here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. If you're a tourist, if you're ever in Atlanta, if you have relatives here, I would highly recommend you go to Ackworth, Georgia, and go to Portal Pinball. They have a liquor license for those that like to partake in adult beverages, but you don't need to because they have soda as well. And they have all sorts of video games and classic pinball games. They even have the skeet ball. I love that. And there's another place. It's a pizza place. This guy's been open about 9 months, depending on when you listen to this replay. But it's called Solar Slice Pizza. It's also in Cobb County. Well, no. It's in Marietta, Georgia, on Cobb Parkway, across from the Piccadilly Cafeteria. And my friend Jeff Logan introduced me to this place. His office is nearby, and he discovered it when he was scouting around for a place to eat for lunch. And they really have good pizza. Oh, my gosh, and they're very reasonably priced. But I was just there the other day, and they have some video games, too. They have Galaga there. I got a high score on that the other day on Monday. Man, I love that place. They have Taxi, Pinball Machine by Williams, a 1988 game that I like. It's also at Portal Pinball, but it's at Solar Slice. Solar Slice has a lot of great games. I I took a photo. It's on my phone. I didn't convert it. I should have done that for tonight. I'll do it. See, I'm going to do a part 2. I'll save for part 2. That's what I'll do. So I'm going to be easy on myself. I'll do it next time and show you pictures of these establishments. So those are my 2 shout outs for this edition. Part 1 of Pinball Machines based on popular movies. BK said, I also like the Black Knight. I did too. I like Black Knight 2000. Took it to another level, but there's nothing wrong with the original. Just like 8-Ball and 8-Ball Deluxe, I like both. The original from 77. And hey, I didn't know that set a sales record until Addams Family came along. BK on the air, the radio host says, my first machine I ever got to play was 8-Ball in 1977 in a tiny game room in Rome, Georgia. That's pretty cool. Danny State in South Carolina said, I haven't played pinball in 40 years. 40 years. 40 years. Wow. He said, cool. Hello to Kay Moonen in Florida. Says, good evening to everybody. And then my buddy Jim Von Spiegel in Ohio State says, it's all good, Chance, meaning all good that I didn't check in on the chat until now. Sorry about that. Let's get back to pinball now. And have some other features tonight as well. There was a lot of TV history. I don't want to date the show too. Tomorrow is William Shatner's birthday. I'm sure BK will be talking all about that on BK on the air, 10 a.m. to noon. He's a William Shatner expert. So I'm gonna be light on Shatner tonight because I want to tune into BK and hear what he's got prepared in that regard. So let's get back to the pinball based on popular movies. This next movie, I love this movie. You do too. What could it be? We're talking alphabetically. So we're going into the B's now. We started with letter A for Addams Family Pinball and Apollo 13 Pinball. Now we're in the B's. I'm going to show you a graphic as I reveal the answer. So let me get to my photos. The next pinball machine, and it was produced by Data East. There's another hint. Anyone out there who's advanced and knowledgeable about pinball, then you know what I'm talking about. Talking about this movie, takes place in 1985 and 1955. That's a dead giveaway hint right there. Talking about that's the power of pinball. Back to the Future. Back to the Future. Talk a little bit about the movie, and then we'll talk about the pinball machine. And I won't be long-winded on this. The last pinball game we featured was a game based on a Universal movie. This is a Universal movie as well. Apollo 13 was Universal. 1995. Well, 10 years before that, Back to the Future was released by Universal. And let me get my movie notes. Back to the Future was released on July 3rd, 1985. It was a 4th of July movie release. Of course, Jaws started the big summer blockbuster 10 years before that in 1975. Another Universal movie. So, man, you had Jaws in 75, Back to the Future 85, Apollo 13, 95. Universal was rocking those summer releases decade by decade. Now, the movie Back to the Future is 116 minutes long, so it's just 4 minutes shy of the 2-hour mark. The budget was $19 million, filmed in 1984, but it earned $388.8 million at the box office. Incredible. Now, let's talk about the pinball machine as I show you some graphics. There is the promotional piece of Back to the Future, the pinball game. It just says the pinball, but it should say the pinball game. It says Back to the Future, the pinball. There's what it looks like. It's a nice looking machine. And here is the play field of the Back to the Future pinball machine. It was released in June of 1990 by Data East. The design was by Joe Kamenkow and Ed Cebula, Cebula. I probably mispronounced that. I'm sorry if I did. The programming was by Reman, Rehman Merchant, with artwork by Paul Ferris, music by Brian Schmidt, sound by Brian Schmidt, and voices by Fred Young and Thomas F. Wilson. Thomas F. Wilson? Who did he play in Back to the Future? You know, he was the bully. This ain't no peep show. Oh, you want the ball? Well, go get it. I'm glad when he got the manure in his mouth, right? Biff. That was Biff Tanner. Played by Thomas F. Wilson. So it was released a month after the third movie's theatrical run, Back to the Future Part 3 with the Old West, concluding the trilogy. The game featured the 4 songs, The Power of Love, Back in Time, Double Back, and Alan Silvestri's orchestral theme, the musical theme. Now, aside from its gameplay and the score, remember ZZ Top did that song Double Back. And, of course, Huey Lewis and the News sang The Power of Love and Back in Time. Now, Michael J. Fox refused to permit his image to be used to adorn the back glass of the game. So the replacement image of his character, Marty McFly, wearing sunglasses on the game's back glass and playfield, was portrayed by Brad Ferris, the son of Data East pinball artwork designer Paul Ferris. Did you know that? I think that's interesting. Joe Kamenkov, one of the pinball game designers, also appeared as Fox's character on the advertising flyer. Let me put that back up. And Gary Stern. Let me see here. That's right. Yeah, I just had it. There we go. There's the flyer. I think that's pretty damn cool. So Joe Kamenkov, one of the pinball game designers, also appeared as Fox's character, Michael J. Fox's character, on the advertising flyer seen right there on your screen. Those that are listening can see it on the Nostalgic PodBlast YouTube channel or the Nostalgic PodBlast Facebook group. No, you know what? Facebook's as part of my rant of the week. They're going to start deleting live videos after 30 days starting in June 2025. So let me just say, YouTube's always the best place to go if you want to see the video clips that I'm presenting. I try to make them audio friendly too for the listener on Apple Podcast or Fistful of Radio out of Atlanta or Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's pretty cool that he got to double for Michael J. Fox. And this guy, Joe, he's the former president of Data East Pinball and the current CEO of Stern Pinball. And he was in Christopher Lloyd's role as Doc Brown in the flyer as well. That's pretty cool. So they did like a split screen thing. Now, Back to the Future, the pinball is also significant because it was one of the final mass-produced games by Data East Pinballs, which made use of a numeric display. In 1991, games would have a dot matrix display beginning with a game called Checkpoint. Let's look at a clip of Back to the Future in action. The pinball game. Well, dang, I thought I had a clip. Ooh, I don't think I pulled a clip of Back to the Future in use. I messed up. Let me quickly find that. Oh, no. Oh, that's bad. Well, damn. How am I going to do this while I'm live? Let me see. Well, maybe it's divine intervention. Maybe the clip might have been an issue with the music. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to try to find it, though. That's the Back to the Future pinball machine by Data East. Let me just switch some gears here. Let's see if I can find it. Dang, I can't believe I forgot to do that. I'll find it real fast. Pull it up. I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. When this game was released, I was so excited to play it. I was a big fan of the original trilogy. I saw the first one with my mom in 1984, or 85 rather, when I was like 13 or something. I was so embarrassed at some of the stuff in there between mother and son, innocent stuff, but it was like, very embarrassing watching that movie with mom. And then Back to the Future 2, it just blew my mind. Although they had the obvious double, playing George McFly, because Crispin Glover refused to appear in the sequel. Let me see here. I'm trying to find a good brief clip. Here's one. I could have sworn I pulled this. I must be hitting the wrong button somewhere, but I'm gonna jimmy this up for y'all now. Just give me a moment. And I remember Pizza Hut was a big sponsor of Back to the Future Part 2. It always made me hungry, that the big product placement, the obvious product placement of Pizza Hut. It always made me crave that thin and crispy Pizza Hut pizza whenever I'd see that scene. Even to this day, it kind of does. But I remember that bleak future by Biff getting that sports almanac and changing and altering the course of history. That bleak reality, that was really something. And I thought Thomas Wilson did a great job, and they did pretty good makeup, making him look old. The head of that casino, man, we're not going to be terrorized. Hang on a second. Let me find. I'm converting the clip as I stall. What's your favorite scene in the Back to the Future trilogy? The third one was my least favorite. I didn't hate it. I like Western, certainly. And I like Mary Steenburgen. That wasn't the problem. I don't know. It had its moments, but it just wasn't and they shot Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 at the same time. Just like the Christopher Reeve Superman 1 and 2 was shot at the same time. Most of Superman 2 shot by Richard Donner back in 1977. And that was a technique that Richard Lester, who ironically replaced Richard Donner as the director of Superman 2 and Superman 3, had done in the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers back in the early mid 1970s. Okay, so of the Three Musketeers being produced. All right, I think I have it. I got to do this right. Let me pull up the video. This is Back to the Future, the pinball machine. So damn embarrassing that I screwed that up. All right, hang on. Bear with me. Oh, I'm in the wrong column.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm getting it in here. Maybe that's why I didn't see it. You know what? It is in here. I knew I pulled it. I was looking in. All right, StreamYarders. You know how those that use StreamYard are called StreamYarders? Yeah, you have media. It's sitting right here. Here it is. Here's the clip of Back to the Future. I had it the whole time. Look what happened. The StreamYard screwed up again and tried to default my mic. What this thing does, part of my fake rant of the week, is StreamYard, owned by Bending Spoons in Italy now. They've increased the price, but the quality's gone down quite a bit. And what they love to do is have your audio default to, like, say, a computer microphone instead of your board. So last week I did part 1 of the women of the original Star Trek. I got through half of season 1 of Trek. I'm going to pick it up next week. I don't want to be too monotonous with the same topic 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to do part 2 and close out season 1 of the original Star Trek. Half the show, I'm sitting there holding my mic. Mic's not even working. God, that made me mad. Hey to Joe Gutfeld watching on Facebook Live. Hey to you. Hey to Danny Staten again. And Kay Moonen had said to think that one day modern video game consoles will go the way of pinball machines and record players. I never got to play a pinball machine. Oh, you're missing out, man. The physics in it are so much fun. By the time I was old enough to play games, arcades were already basically gone. But they've come back, my friend. A lot of bars have them now. And other places too. Pizzerias. You're finding them more and more. So check them out. So that's Back to the Future, the pinball game. Let's continue on with the letter B. What other pinball game based on a movie you think in the B's would be next there? Well, somebody already sort of guessed it. It's Jim Von Spiegel. He guessed Batman. It is Batman, but it's Batman Forever. Batman Forever. Forever. And let me show you that art piece for the viewers. Well, there's the movie poster. There's Batman Forever, the movie poster. Now, the movie Batman Forever, directed by Joel Schumacher, was a big hit. Val Kilmer played the Dark Knight. Tommy Lee Jones was in it as Two-Face. Jim Carrey was the Riddler. Nicole Kidman was Poison Ivy. And Chris O'Donnell was Burt Ward. Was Robin. Dick Grayson. Now, the movie cost $100 million to make, but it earned $336.6 million at the box office. It was 2 hours and 2 minutes long, released on June 9th, 1995. At the Mann Village Theater, otherwise known as Mann's Chinese Theater in California. That was the premiere, June 9th, 1995. The wide release was June 16th, 1995. Now, the pinball game, let me show you what that looked like. There's some artwork for the pinball game for Batman Forever. It was by Sega, as you can see. But for the listeners, here's some history of that. That also was released in June of 1995 to coincide with the release of the movie. The design was by Paul Leslie, Lesley, and Joe Kamenkow. It's programmed by Christina Donofrio, Neil Falconer, and Harry Klein. Klein with a C. The artwork was by Morgan Westlig, Mark Rancies, and Jeff Bush. Music was by Brian L. Schmidt, who also did the sounds. They only made 2,500 of these machines. Let's look at some of the gameplay. Let me see. Whoa, I thought I had some other images. Yeah, there's the play field for Batman Forever. Isn't that cool? I love it with the big question mark. That's a cool shot. There's a better lit shot of that. And now let's look at some video of the game as it's being played. Let's see. Got some really cool machines coming up. All right, let's look at this. This is Batman Forever. It's just 2 minutes, 43 seconds long.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Batman Forever sales video. It is April 29th, 2022. This machine has just been fully restored in the Viper Pinball Garage in Essex County. The machine features a 6-player multi-sized display that's controlled by a 68,000 Motorola chip, brand new display, brand new controller board, brand new power supply in this machine, as well as rebuilt flippers, rebuilt slingshots, all LEDs throughout. The game has been fully shopped. Cabinet is in virtually perfect condition with no gouges. Even the back is in really good shape. Sorry as I come around here. There's the other side. Again, the Batmobile. Leg levelers. Everything has been touched up. Custom apron cards. Full user manual and a custom binder. Open this up. They're getting mad. That's the interlock. I'll close that up. More pictures could be made available. Let's just start a game. All original voices from the movie. Amazing animations in the back display. And fantastic gameplay. Hard to do one-handed. Oh.
What did you say today?
Sorry, it's hard to do one-handed. More videos on demand if you require.
Nice, nice. I know what he's saying. I recorded some video, K Moonin and the other live listeners and viewers of me trying to record one of my games, Indiana Jones: A Pinball Adventure. It's really tough. I need to get some sort of wall-mounted tripod or something, or a crane, so I can do better photography, or just have someone with me instead of trying to do this by myself. Okay, so that's the Batman Forever Pinball Machine. I can delete that clip, and we can move along to the letter C. What movie that begins with a C? Oh, let me just acknowledge this comment from K Moon. And Robin only got cool when it became Nightwing. Yeah, that was in 1984. When I was a kid, I bought that issue in St. Louis, Missouri, when I was visiting my grandparents at a 7-Eleven. I bought 2 copies of it. I have, I think, 4 or 5 in my collection. The first, it's an issue of Tales of the New Teen Titans, issue 44, that I got in 1984. I'm old. What you're like 20 something? I think you said you're like 22. They say that's cool. That's why I try to make this show friendly to generations, all different generations and all different ages. You know, I don't want to just, because you said you've never played a pinball game. I hope you do. I hope I inspire you to drop a couple quarters in a pinball machine near you. And you also said if you look closely on that Batman pinball machine, you can see Sonic the Hedgehog on the logo in the center. Let's go back and look. Let's see here. Is that true? Let's see. I don't doubt your word. There we go. Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. I still don't see it, but I'm looking at a small monitor. I don't doubt your word. Let me try a different angle. Sonic Hedgehog. You don't mean the question mark? No, I'm sure it's there, and I'm just oblivious. Okay, well, that's pretty cool. All right. Let's see. So now, when did Batman Forever come out? I just said so. That would also be the day of the pinball machine. I said that too, my brother. It was in June of 1995. Yes, sir. All right, so let's continue on and get to the next. Again, it's the movie with the letter C. It's an older movie. It's a horror movie. Letter C, that a pinball game was based upon. This is an awesome pinball machine from 1992. What do you think? I'm just going to wait and see if anybody wants to guess in the chat. It's in the center that lights up. Okay, cool. Hey, Hedgehog, I'll check it out later. That's cool. Thank you, my friend. I met K Moonin through Open by Chance YouTube channel. Creature. You're right, Jim Von Spiegel. Right again. It is Creature from the Black Lagoon. Let's look at one of the original movie posters, and then we'll talk about the game. Check out this cool movie poster. Look at that artwork. Isn't that just wonderful? I love it so much. And I love the game. It has a great hologram of the creature that comes at you, but it's hard to make that happen. Oh, I skipped one. Oh my goodness, I skipped one. I am messing up bad tonight. Well, you know what? What should I do, folks? Oh man, there was another B. Well, I'll just go on with creature. All right, we'll get back to this one because really it could be B or D. Just remind me in the chat. All right, let's so I don't totally derail. Talk about Creature from the Black Lagoon. You can see the movie poster there. The movie, when was it released? I will tell you. It was released way back. This is the premiere now, February 12th, 1954. It's a Universal movie, of course, Universal International. The wide release date was March 5th, 1954. At the box office, it earned $1,300,000. It's 79 minutes in length, and it spawned, of course, sequels like Revenge of the Creature. It was directed by Jack Arnold. The screenplay was by Harry Essex and Arthur Ross, with a story by Maurice Zimm, Z-I-M-M, double M's. And it starred Richard Carlson, Julie Adams, Richard Denning, Antonio Moreno, Whit Bissell, who later would be in the Time Tunnel on TV about 12 years later after the release of this picture. So the pinball game, let me show you what that looks like really quickly. With some of the art. Look at this cool little, I love the art for this promotional piece. I think that's really cool. It says claws for the applause. Claws for the applause. Claws for the applause. Easy for me to say. Love that artwork. That's what the game looks like. Look at the back glass art. I love the creature with the beautiful girl who's unconscious. Very, very cool. We're going to look at the gameplay in just a minute, but to tell you a little bit about this machine, it was released in December of 1992 by Bally Midway. The system was Midway WPC Fliptronics 2. The design was by John Trudell. Programmed by Jeff Johnson with artwork by Kevin O'Connor, who did that great backglass and playfield art. Mechanics were by Ernie Pizarro. The music and the sound was by Paul Heitsch, last name is spelled Heitsch. The voices were by Matt Booty, Paul Heitsch, Jeff Johnson, and Allison Quaint. Move your car! Anyone who's played the game knows that moment in the game. There were 7,841 units made of Creature from the Black Lagoon. And the hologram was such an awesome feature. Now, the game's theme is a 1950s drive-in theater. Pinball game was licensed by Universal Studios by Bally, so that all backglass and cabinet artwork and creature depictions would resemble those of the original movie. The hologram, that's the centerpiece of the table's playfield, has this holographic Creature from the Black Lagoon illuminated and in motion during multi-ball play within its Black Lagoon habitat. The space beneath the playfield visible only through a customized window. The green hologram was produced by Polaroid and is affixed to a metal plate and is divided into 3 sections, which are designed so that the hologram appears to float in 3D. A cam behind one section presses against the back of the plate, gently bending the hologram surface so that the creature appears to ripple as if it's underwater and to swipe at the player with its claw. A second motor mounted at the bottom of the cabinet oscillates the right reflecting mirror, changing the direction of the light source and causing the image of the creature to slowly turn from side to side. Now, the objective of the game is to collect 4 letters in film, F-I-L-M, and enable multi-ball play so you get to that holographic image. Each letter is earned by completing a different objective. The snack bar, the center scoop, can also give letters as random rewards. And what it is, the ball drops into that. It's a drop target, as it's known. The letter F, you shoot the ball to the left KISS scoop 4 times. And at the start of the ball, the letter can be immediately earned with a properly timed skill shot that loops around the back of the field and comes down the left side. To get the letter I, spot the 4 menu targets to open the snack bar. The targets can be spotted by hitting them or shooting the unlit snack bar until they have been completed for the first time. And then the L, well, you light the PAID, paid rollovers at the top right of the playfield. 1 rollover flashes at the start of each ball. Hitting it immediately completes all 4. The rollovers award a bonus multiplier for each of the first 5 completions during a single ball and 5 million per completion afterward. It's 5 million points, of course. And then M, you shoot the ball into the slide, which is the right scoop. All shots after the first one of the game earn an award that cycles through Mega Menu, Playground Award, and Big Millions. Okay, so let's just show the game. Now that I've sort of explained it really badly, let's just watch the gameplay and see if you can spot these things. It's just such a great game. I just love it. There's so many features in it, and I would love to own this game. And there's songs in it, too. You'll hear Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and his Comets, Get a Job, Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na, Get a Job by the Silhouettes, Summertime Blues by Eddie Cochran, the original Summertime Blues, of course, Willie and the Hand Jive by Johnny Otis, and Red River Rock by Johnny and the Hurricanes, that particular version. So, and by the way, Rock Around the Clock was the theme to Happy Days in seasons 1 and 2 of that classic television show, which began in January 1974. Okay, let's watch some of the game. Creature from the Black Lagoon. Let's watch the game in action. It's such a fun game. And here it is. And then I'll get to that D. We're going to start the letter D with a different game, and then I'll get to the one that I missed. But here's Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's about 3 minutes, 51 seconds long.
And now, on with the show. Shocking. Startling. There she is. Amazing.
My hero.
Allie and Universal present The Creature from the Black Lagoon. See the amazing creature in 3D. Now playing at a location near you. Stay cool, Daddy-O. She's in one of these groups. We gotta find her.
Some neat images of the game close up. As you can see, very cool. Check it out, man. It's such a fun game. It's one of my favorites. So there's Creature from the Black Lagoon. Now we're going to advance to the letter D. What movie that begins with the letter D do you think was a hit pinball machine? It's a more recent movie, I would say. I'll just tell you. I got to acknowledge a quick comment, though. Let's see. Hey, Jerry Dobson is here, but not as Dobson as Jerry King. And Jim Von Spiegel, I don't want to date the show, but he says that Creature from the Black Lagoon will be on MeTV tomorrow as part of probably Sven Gulli, I would assume. Kay Moonen, actually, he's not in his 20s. He just turned 36, though I look young for my age. And he also said, I'm shocked to hear that pinball machines were still coming out in 1995. By that time, PlayStation was coming out in Japan and the US. Correct, but they're still, if you rewind the show, I talked at length about why pinball was still hanging on. They actually had video modes in a lot of the pinball machines, and there were other things they were doing to remain popular, like tying into movies, popular movies. Kay Moonen said the Creature from the Black Lagoon pinball machine was neat. It's quite impressive, all the parts that go into them. It is, and there's nothing like pinball. It's such a unique, fun experience. And it was banned for a long time. I skipped that part of the history. We'll save it for the next time I talk about pinball machines based on movies, and then we're going to talk about TV shows that were pinball machines and rock bands that were pinball machines all throughout the rest of 2025. I'll sprinkle those into the Nostalgic PodBlast as a topic. All right, so let's get back with the letter D in terms of the pinball machines. There's several with the letter D. Let's just start with alphabetical order, and then I'll get to the one that I skip. You know what? I'm going to just go to the one I skip before I forget. Letter D. We've got to go back here to this movie. And the clip is very brief for this game. It's like under a minute because I have a kind of a funny clip. Let me see. Here we go. Now, what could be letter B or letter D? What do you think? Let me just show you the artwork of the pinball machine I'm talking about and the movie poster of what I'm talking about. It is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Stroker Ace, I tried to say. Bram Stoker's Dracula, a 1992 film. All right, some brief history about this movie. I skipped it because I didn't like it. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It was a film that starred Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, Keanu Reeves, and it was released on November 13th of 1992. It's 2 hours and 8 minutes long. The budget was $40 million, but it grossed $215.9 million at the box office. So that's pretty damn good. In terms of the pinball game, it did have a first. Now, it was a Williams game. I love that original with the coffin opening up, revealing the pinball machine. That is pretty cool promotional artwork. I just love that. So that's a nice little piece. So the game was characterized by its unusual blood red DMD display. Most other games at the time used orange for their color, meaning where the score is shown. It was in red instead of orange. As well as a multi-ball mode where up to 3 different multi-ball variations could be active at the same time, with each successive active mode providing a jackpot multiplier of up to 3 times. It also featured a unique variation of the usual multi-ball mode known as Mist multi-ball. Mist as in the Mist, M-I-S-T. Like John Carpenter's The Mist. Mist multi-ball, where a magnet would drag a pinball across the playfield and the player would be required to knock it loose from the magnet's grasp to start the mode. Now, the game was released in April of 1993 after the success of the 1992 film, Bram Stoker's Dracula. The design of the game was by Barry Orsler and Mark Spregler. The music was by Paul Heitch. And let's look at a clip. There were 6,801 units produced. This is a 45-second clip. There's the playfield of it. That's a nice shot of the game. Now, let's look at a clip. This is kind of an annoying clip. It's a funny and annoying clip. And you'll understand when I play it. And it is, it's only 12 seconds long. It's a 12-second clip. Here it is.
We found a Bram Stoker's Dracula pinball machine. Who is this for? I mean, sure. I guess they play a lot of pinball?
No, darling, it's based on a movie. Okay, so there's that one. That's the one that I accidentally skipped, so I can delete that video. And let's go on to another one. Dracula, very cool, said Danny Staten. Hello to Tracy's Fractured History and More. Jim Von Spiegel guessed Dune. That was a good guess for the letter D in terms of movies that were, pinball. I keep getting that backwards. Pinball machines that were based on movies. And people are saying hey to each other. That's nice. Came in and said, it seems to me if pinball machines stayed around just a few years more, we would have had some based off anime. An Acura pinball machine sounds awesome. Indeed. And people are saying hey to each other. That's great. Hey, Tracy, it's nice to see you. Very nice to see you always. All right, so we can advance to another movie with the letter D that a pinball game was made based upon it. Let me just get advanced because I skipped that one. Okay. All right. Let's see, Mr. Von Spiegel. What do you think it would be? There's a few. I'll just go with this one. This is the more recent movie I talked about. I'll just show you the movie poster right now. Talking about the movie Deadpool. That's a 2016 movie poster for Deadpool. Now, the movie Deadpool, which of course is a Marvel Comics character introduced in The New Mutants. I have that issue from late 1990. The movie is directed by Tim Miller, and it was a huge hit, of course. It was released in terms of the premiere on February 8th, 2016. In wide release, it was released on February 12th, 2016 by 20th Century Fox. The budget was $58 million, but it earned $782 million at the box office. Very, very impressive. Starred, of course, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. And I think New Mutants issue 98 was the first issue with Deadpool. And issue 87 introduced Cable, who was a villain played by Josh Brolin in Deadpool 2. Now, the pinball game. Let me see if I have some art for you. Yeah. Nope. Here's the Deadpool pinball game. In terms of the game, where's my damn script? Stern Pinball released Deadpool in August of 2018. It was designed by George Gomez with artwork by Jeremy Packer, music by Vince Pontarelli, and sound by Jerry Thompson. Let's look at a clip of this game in action. Deadpool. This is the pro version of the game.
Player 2, it's all you. I'm a poet, didn't know it. You've done it. switching it. I will be proud. Choose your battle. Make your choice. Down to your extinction. Here, have it up. They're free. And also this. Big and green and awful smelling dust.
Pretty cool, huh? I agree, Tracy. It is a cool. Let's look at some comments here. Jim Von Spiegel said, now that had video. It sure did. Let's see. K Moonin said, that Deadpool machine is definitely modern. Yep, 2018. No way it's old, as the character is not even popular till the movies came out. That's right. You're absolutely correct. Pinball never really went away. I mean, there was a lull, you know, after 1997, certainly after 1999 when Williams pulled out, but it's been back for some time. That is one cool machine, said Tracy's Fractured History More. I agree. Let's continue on. How long have I gone? Only not even 2 hours yet. Beautiful, beautiful. Next is another letter D movie made into a pinball machine. What do you think it would be? If you're still out there playing from home, there's a couple more, but let's just do this one. Let me see. Where is that? Yeah. This is a really cool game. Make sure I have a clip. I do. Let me just show you some art. This is a movie that began with the letter D. I'll give you a hint. It's from the 1990s. Well, let's not play games. I'll just show you the movie poster. Demolition Man, starring Sylvester, Sly Stallone, and Wesley Snipes. Let's talk about the movie. It was directed by Marco Brambilla, and it was released on October 8th, 1993. Sandra Bullock's also in the movie, whom we saw in... Can you name the movie that put her on the map? Sandra Bullock? It would be Speed. Speed really put her on the map, but she's in this along with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. And it was a good little movie released by Warner Brothers, distributed by Warner Brothers. Silver Pictures was the production company. It's 115 minutes long, so 5 minutes shy of 2 hours. The budget was around, this is quite a range in my research, between $45 and $77 million, but it earned $159.1 million at the box office. Let's talk about the pinball machine based on Demolition Man. There is some nice piece of artwork featuring Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes to promote the game. Stallone, Snipes, Demolition Man. Now, the game was released in February of 1994 by Williams. Williams WPC with the DCS sound system. It was designed by Dennis Nordman, programmed by Ted Estes and Bill Grupp. That's two P's, Grupp. And the artwork was by Doug Watson and Linda Deal. Linda Deal did the back glass art. The music was by John Hay. Hey. H-E-Y, Hay. John Hay. And it featured the voices of Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. Sly Stallone played, John Spartan, and Wesley Snipes played the villain, Simon Phoenix. There were 7,019 Demolition Man pinball machines produced. The game is centered on multiple modes. After hitting the 5 yellow stand-up targets a set number of times, a player can hit the right in lane to light quick freeze on the left ramp, then shoot the ramp to light one of the 4 freeze lamps in the center of the playfield. Once the required number of balls has been frozen, a shot to the left loop will start multi-ball, putting one additional ball into play for every freeze earned. There's Fortress multi-ball, 1 freeze required. a normal multi-ball mode in which the player must hit a set number of lit jackpot shots in sequence to enable the super jackpot. There's also museum multi-ball. 2 freezes are required to achieve museum multi-ball. Every shot is lit for a jackpot. Once they are all lit, the super jackpot lights up. Then there's wasteland multi-ball. 3 freezes are required to hit that level. Similar to Fortress, but more than 1 jackpot can be lit at a time. And then finally, there's Cryo Prison Multi-Ball. 4 freezes are required to hit that stage. The super jackpot is immediately lit. All jackpot shots add to it. The 4 modes are always played in this order. All right, now let's look at a clip of Demolition Man, the pinball game, right now. Let's see how long this clip is. This clip is 6 minutes, 25 seconds long. I may not play the whole thing. That's a bit lengthy of a clip. And we're going to get to stuff I shot of my pinball machine, one of my 2 pinball machines, Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure. That's the last game we'll talk about tonight in part 1 of our series of pinball machines based on movies. This is a machine I own, and it is a prototype. It's got special things that the mass-produced version did not have, and I'll show all of that to you in 2 videos I produced today just for you all in the PodBlast Podience. The audience of the PodBlast is known as the Podience, thanks to Danny Cochran, friend of the show's wife. She coined that phrase to give credit where credit's due. Here's Demolition Man from Williams Pinball.
I'm the Demolition Man. Is it cool? It's just me.
you suck at playing this game, sir or madam.
Computer report. Triple car crash.
You and me feeling I'm so scared.
Wonder if I can play the accordion too.
It's a nice long demo of Demolition Man. Now we have one more pinball machine based on a major motion picture that begins with the letter D. What do you think it is? While you're thinking, let's look at the comments. Some comments came in. Jim Von Spiegel, does the movie studio ask for the pinball production or the other way around? It can be both. It's a partnership. K Moon and said, Chance, I have to see that prototype pinball machine in your collection. Yeah, I'm going to show the video I shot today. I should have done it at night, though. I think it would look better at night. But I give you a good sampling of everything this machine can do, almost everything. K Moonen said, Chance roasting a terrible player is what I needed today. Thanks for the laugh. You're welcome. That was really not the best gameplay. That was fun, says K Moonen, said Tracy to him. That was funny. K Moonen, indeed it was. Okay, well, I wasn't trying to be mean, but I mean, it just wasn't very good gameplay. Okay, have you thought of what this is a very obscure one, very obscure. You have to be pretty advanced and knowledgeable about pinball to guess this one. But what movie that begins with the letter D do you think is next? Let me get the artwork ready and I'll reveal the answer. Oh, okay, good. That was the one I did. I thought it popped up automatically. All right, it did not. Okay, I'll just tell you, believe it or not, it's Dirty Harry, the Clint Eastwood classic film. There was a pinball machine based on Dirty Harry that came out years after the movie was released. The original movie, Dirty Harry, was directed by Don Siegel. And it starred, of course, Clint Eastwood, who you see in the movie poster there, and others. And it was a very gritty crime movie released on December 23rd, 1971. It's 102 minutes long. So what is that? 1 hour, 42 minutes in length. The budget was $4 million, but it earned $36 million. Well, get this. A pinball machine was commissioned and released in March of 1995. And there is a nice promotional piece for the game by Williams Electronics. Says, set your sights on a winner. Pretty wild. A few facts about this game. That's what it looks like. I love the artwork, but this machine from 1995 was designed by Barry Orsler, programmed by Greg Silla, artwork by Kevin O'Connor and Pat McMahon, music and sound by Vince Pontarelli. They made 4,248 units of the Dirty Harry pinball machine. Excuse me. And I will show you a close-up. Look at the back glass art. Isn't that cool? Go ahead, make my day. That was years later. That was from 1984's Sudden Impact. Or was it 83? Wait a minute. I got to look that up. I think it might have been 1983 when Sudden Impact was released. Let me look that up really quickly. God, Al Hardy's texting me as I'm live about some stupid movie theater. NCG, they're opening in Gwinnett County near him. He's all excited about it. Actually, that's a good chain. I think it better than AMC. I know Barry King goes to an NCG. I won't say where for his privacy. But they have really good popcorn at NCG. I'll say that. But he keeps texting me, and that's fine. I'm not mad. It's just like, God, he sent me like 20 pictures of the stupid movie theater under construction. It's like, okay, buddy, I get it. All right, so Sudden Impact. It's actually a group text, so it's not just to me. Yeah, 1983, Sudden Impact, which is in the Dirty Harry film series. Very gritty movie, released on December 9th, 1983. So almost 1984. That's probably why I was thinking 84. All right, so getting back to the pinball game, let's look at a little bit of the game in play. Let me see what these comments are. Came in and said, I can't say I'm surprised that Dirty Harry got a pinball machine from what I've seen. Creature from the Black Lagoon was more surprising to me. Tracy's Fractured History More said, Dirty Harry pinball machine. No way. Oh, God, this is great. Yeah, let's look at a clip of the game in play. I don't think it's as long as the other clips. I'm sorry to play long, and it's really bad audio. For anyone that's listening on the podcast side, I apologize. But again, simply Google search The Nostalgic PodBlast. If you're listening in one of my many audio platforms, Google search The Nostalgic PodBlast. At the very top of the search, you'll see the YouTube channel. Click that, then click the live tab, and then look for the Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure thumbnail, and you'll be in the right place. And I'm going to have, and I've already done this since I'm talking from the past, thumbnail cue marks. I have cue marks of exactly where to go for each machine, so you can skip right ahead to what you want to see. Here's the Dirty Harry pinball machine from 1995 being played.
You've got to ask yourself one question. Do you feel lucky? You're going to play this creeps game. Oh! You do when scum like you kill me. Get ready for matching. Don't go wasting those. You've got to ask yourself one question. What have we here? The city of San Francisco does not pay criminals. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do you like it? You've been practicing.
You locked me up 10 years ago.
Time flies. Fun, huh? Quieter than usual here tonight.
End of scene, as they say. So that's the Dirty Harry Pinball Machine. Pretty cool, from 1995, even though the first movie was released in 1971. Now we're going to advance to the letter F. What movie that begins with the letter F became a pinball machine? And this was released around the time of the film. What do you think? I'll just show you the movie poster to reveal the answer. A movie that it's a sci-fi classic and a comedy, and it's kind of sexy. Begins with the letter F, talking about Flash. King of the Impossible. I don't want to do it on key or the bots might get me. Yeah, that's the ticket. All right. Flash Gordon, the movie, which was released in 1980 with music by Queen, the rock band, of course, Freddie Mercury, directed by Mike. I almost said his name. I did missay his name. Let me get back on track. Directed by Mike Hodges. It was a Dino De Laurentiis produced film starring Sam J. Jones as Flash Gordon and Melody Anderson as Dale and Max von Sydow as Emperor Ming and Topo and Timothy Dalton, future James Bond, was in it. It's a great film. Brian Blessed, I always say Blessed. Brian Blessed as the Hawkman chief and many, many other actors. Great film made in England. I love it, love it, love it. Another Universal Pictures film distributed by Columbia, EMI Warner's distributors in the UK, but Universal Pictures in the US. It was released on December 11th, 1980 in the UK. In America and the USA, it was released on December 5th, 1980. The budget was $20 to $27 million, yet it earned $46.5 million in the UK and the US. So it made money. The Pinball Machine was released by Bally in February 1981 after the success of the film. There's the back glass art of Flash Gordon, the pinball game. Flash Gordon, made by Bally, was the first split-level pinball machine from Bally, as well as the first game to use the Squawk and Talk soundboard. It was also the second production Bally game with speech, Bally's first being Xenon, Xenon, Xenon in 1980, which was the first utilizing a crude vocalizer board set. There were 10,000 units produced. Artwork was by Kevin O'Connor, as I said, designed by Claude Fernandez, and from February 1981. And the game obviously is based on the popular Flash Gordon character and the stories of comics, film, and television, with the images from the feature film from 1980, the back glass art. And the film, obviously, the Pinball Machine, it's like I'm dyslexic tonight. The Pinball Machine was specifically produced to coincide and promote the 1980 film Flash Gordon. Now let's look at a brief clip of this game in action. And I have another pinball game based on a movie with the letter F after this. You can be thinking about what that might be. But here is the Flash Gordon Pinball Machine in action, 3-minute, 56-second clip. I'm not going to play that much because it's kind of a primitive game. I like the games with multi-ball and multiple levels and lots of ramps. My favorite, I haven't mentioned this yet, my favorite era of pinball is 1988 until 1997. That's my favorite, and I love Bally Williams the best. But let's look at Flash Gordon, the 1981 Pinball Machine. Who can save you now? Ming the Merciless. Clytus on board. What plaything can you offer me today? An obscure body in the exchange. The inhabitants refer to it as the planet Earth. How peaceful it looks. Most effective, Your Majesty. Will you destroy this Earth? Later. I can play with things a while.
awaits. Try again, Earthling.
Flash. All right. Hey, some more comments came in. K Moonin says, now that I know a little more about pinball terminology, the center of the back glass on the Batman Forever machine is where you'll find Sonic the Hedgehog on the logo. Okay, so I wouldn't look in the right place. See, that's what the show's all about. Education. The Nostalgic PodBlast is an educational program. Danny Staten said, Flash, as in, and then K Moonin said, a woman named Dale. Did I catch that right? Yes. Dale. That goes back to the 1940s with the movie serials of Flash Gordon and the comic books before that. Dale Arden. She's a reporter, like Lois Lane. Yep, and she's the love interest of Flash Gordon. That's right. All right, so let's move on to the next movie with the a letter F movie that a pinball game was made for. Jim Von Spiegel guessed Flintstones. And you're right again. It is the Flintstones. You are so good. It is the Flintstones. Let's look at some of the cool yabba-dabba-doo artwork to promote the movie first and then the game. There's the movie poster for the Flintstones, released in 1994, based on the television show, which was based on The Honeymooners. We'll have a gay old time. I did it earlier just right. I'm off key tonight. We'll have a gay. I can't hit that note. When try again, take three. We'll have a gay old time. Sorry, that's annoying as F. Letter F, that is. Okay, so the movie The Flintstones was directed by Brian Levant. And, of course, it starred John Goodman as Fred Flintstone, Rick Moranis as Barney, Elizabeth Perkins, Rosie O'Donnell, and others. Halle Berry, the lovely Halle Berry's in it, and Elizabeth Taylor. Oh, my goodness. Now, the movie, it was released by Universal Pictures. I think Universal Studios has had the most pinball machines manufactured based on their motion picture products, at least thus far. The release date of the film was May 27th, 1994. It's 91 minutes long, so that's a minute and a half plus 1 minute. The budget was $46 million, but it earned almost $300 million in profit. The budget was $46 million, but it earned at the box office $341.6 million. Amazing. Now, the pinball game was released in July 1994. The movie in late May 1994. And it was by Williams Electronics. I will show you. Let's look here. Sorry, listeners. A nice promotional piece with John Goodman as Fred Flintstone. Yabba-dabba-doo! And it says, it's the Stone Age Rage. The Flintstones pinball machine. Here's what the playfield looked like, K Moonin, and anyone watching live. If you're watching on a television set, which you can do, by the way, you can watch the Nostalgic PodBlast on your television if you have the free YouTube app. Just search, when you go to the YouTube on your streaming provider or streaming service, if you have a Roku, for instance, go to YouTube, it's free, and then search the Nostalgic PodBlast, and you can watch this show on your television and see the playfields much larger. up close and personal. But there is the play field, and I'll tell you briefly about the game by Williams. As I said, released July 1994 by Williams WPC Security. The design was by John Trudeau. The programming by Jeff Johnson. The artwork by Kevin O'Connor. The mechanics by Ernie Pizarro. The music and the sound by Dave Zabriskie. Featuring the voices of John Goodman, Rick Moranis, and Harvey Korman. His son, Christopher, has been on the Nostalgic PodBlast. Barry King introduced me to his son, by the way, of BK on the Air radio program, Saturdays, 10 a.m. to noon on WBHF radio out of Cartersville, Georgia. Now, Rick Moranis, he's retired from acting. He's someone I have enjoyed watching for a long time, going back to SCTV. And, of course, he's been in so many great films. I could go on. I need to do a whole pod blast on Rick Moranis. I even like the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies. Anyway, in 1994, Williams Electronics released the Pinball Machine based on the live-action theatrical film adaptation of the ABC television live-action show, The Flintstones. This game also featured speech provided by, as I mentioned this already, John Goodman, Rick Moranis, and Harvey Korman. Harvey Korman from the Carol Burnett Show. That's what put him on the map. And, of course, he was in so many great movies like Mel Brooks' History of the World Part 1, and so many other films. So they reprised their movie roles for the pinball game with new speech recorded and produced just for the game, as well as the theme song from the television series. The game had a unique feature called Smart Ramps. This allowed the game to decide which flipper to feed the ball to, meaning number 2, ball 2, through a plastic loop at the bottom. Let's look at some footage of the Flintstones pinball machine in action, and then we'll move on to the letter G, a movie that begins with the letter G that had a pinball machine made based upon it. But let's look at a clip of the Flintstones pinball machine from 1994 right now. I hope I have time for a movie review from our friend JT tonight. How long have I gone? 2.5 hours. I'll try to keep it to 3 hours. So let me see. We're only doing 15 pinball games, folks. And where is this? This is number, let me look at my notes. Oh, that was number 11. So 15 total. We're going to conclude with one of my machines, Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure, some video I shot of it, of my prototype of that game. It's a very valuable machine. All right. So let's look at the Flintstones in action right here. I have 2 clips, just the beginning of this one, because here's, if you were to put coins or tokens into the pinball machine back in 1994 or 95, this is what it would sound like when you press the start button.
Hi, this is Nathan, your neighborhood arcade and pinball tall guy. We're going to be at Rec Bar 812 today reviewing the Flintstones by Williams Pinball. Please look for a written review underneath the description of our YouTube video, as well as like and follow us on our social media platforms. Other than that, let's go ahead and get this review underway, shall we? First things first, who doesn't like the Flintstones? For God's sake, it's been on forever. Great cartoon. My kids still love it to this day. Finally having the privilege of playing this in its mechanical format. I'm actually a fan of the visual pinball representation of this game, and I'm glad I was able to find it out today so we could get you a review of this. And as you see here, it is a 3-flipper setup. Flipper gap's not too bad. Obviously, traditional setup from the front of the playfield, which is an in lane left right, out lane left right. As you notice, going to Fred's Choice R, going up underneath the dinosaur, it's a straight shot to the columns right there. Goes to your pop bumpers. You have some targets to the back, which is Bedrock Bolorama. And of course, your modes are to the middle of the game, which is obviously complete to get multi-ball, which is concrete, and that's advanced. So bowling 1, 2, 3 combo up the left ramp right there. Comes around, exits to your right in lane. Let's see if we can do it again, almost. And then, of course, you have targets going up the center. You have another shot going off past the target to the left. And then, of course, a ramp on the right side that comes back around to your right, have a trail in lane. Not too bad. It's very simplistic. Obviously, as you notice, the ramps have combo go bowling, 1, 2, 3. Combo go bowling, 1, 2, 3 on the right ramp as well. You have start multi-ball going up the orbit right there, which is Fred's Choice C. So you have a little area where you could go up and around to the columns or all the way around to the left. Artwork's not bad for what it is. I mean, obviously at the time that this game came out, the artwork actually looks really good for that time period. The back glass actually is what you would expect to from the movie, because that's what the Translite back glass is based off of.
Go for the strike!
And as you see, Bedrock Bowling is activated up there. It's spinning.
Wah, 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 wah. We're right down the middle on you, buddy.
So theme, Flintstones, love it or hate it. Some people may like it, some people may not. It is the Flintstones. If you grew up in the 80s, you will probably enjoy this game and you will understand what it's about. The artwork's actually not bad. So now we're going into multi-ball. You have the balls up at the top left of the table, so train your eye there. They're spinning around trying to exit. And that exit is to the left in lane. And we're just trying to ramp our score up by hitting some jackpots. So themes there, artwork is there. Replayability on this game is actually there. It's actually a pretty fun game. You got a lot to shoot at. It's got a little bit of speed to it. It's kind of blocky to the middle. But beyond that, if you're hitting your shots, you actually have a lot to shoot at. So fun factor is also there on this game. It's going to rank pretty decently. I do love the 3 flipper setups. Obviously, games that are 2 flipper miss out. I think that adding a 3rd flipper is always a must on most pinball machines to kind of add that trick shot to it.
There we go. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I will play a little bit of this clip. This is a much shorter clip, different perspective of the Flintstones pinball machine. I just love the Flintstones. Let's watch.
Hi, this is Nathan, your neighborhood arcade and pinball talk guy. We're going to be reviewing the Flintstones today on Visual Pinball. This was traditionally released by Williams. Please look for a written review underneath the description of our YouTube video. There you'll find all of our written out metrics. That way you know how we judge and graded the table. Other than
Cool. Thank you for that, buddy. It's the same video, I guess. It looked different. Okay. Now, letter G. Letter G. A movie that begins with the letter G that had a pinball machine made for it. Someone in the chat guessed it. Let me look at the comments. Get caught up in the comments as we start to wind down. Jerry Duff said, but not in the movie version. He voiced a bird. Oh, that's in reference to Jim Von Spiegel pointing out that Harvey Korman voiced the great Gazoo. Yes, he did. In the original Flintstones primetime show. Yes, he did. The alien from outer space. That's when the show was Jumping the Shark, though. It's kind of like the Cousin Oliver. The Great Gazoo to the Flintstones is what Cousin Oliver was to the Brady Bunch. And came in and said, when I hear Dale, I think of King of the Hill. I love King of the Hill. I got them almost all on DVD in my DVD collection, almost every season. And that show lasted a long time. Danny Staten says, yabba dabba doo from South Carolina. Goldfinger, guess Jim Von Spiegel. Let's just go ahead and reveal because it's 2 hours, 35 minutes. And I want to show you clips of my machine, one of my 2 machines that I shot just for you guys and gals today. All right, letter G. The clip's only 21 seconds long because I didn't care for the movie. And I'm going to show you now the movie poster first. Oh, got some other guesses. Keebler is here. One of my power mods says Ghostbusters. Well, you know what? You might just be right. And you are right. Let me reveal with a photo the movie poster to Ghostbusters, but it's not the Ghostbusters that we love. It's 2016 Ghostbusters. That's what the pinball machine was based upon. It's a more modern pinball machine based on this film, Ghostbusters. Now, this Ghostbusters was released on, get back to my notes, July 15th, 2016 in wide release. It premiered on July 9th, 2016 at the TCL Chinese Theater. Let's see. It was directed by Paul Feig, and it was based, of course, on the classic Ghostbusters by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. Rest in peace, Harold Ramis. This version starred Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, she's really funny. Leslie Jones, she's really funny. Charles Dance, Chris Hemsworth, Thor himself, and Michael K. Williams. Let's see. It's 116 minutes long, just shy of 2 hours, 4 minutes shy of 2 hours. And it did make money. The budget was $144 million, but it earned $229.1 million. Now, the pinball machine was made by Stern Pinball, released in June of 2016. The design was by John Trudeau, with artwork by Jerry Packer. And it featured the music by Ray Parker Jr. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! With sound by Jerry Thompson. All right, let's look at the very brief clip. And they did make 3 versions of this game: the Pro, the Premium, and the Limited Edition. Let me just show you. Oh, I don't have it. Okay, I didn't show a picture. Well, let's just play the clip then. Let me put that up as my little cue mark. The game's actually pretty cool. And there's a cool feature with a scream. I'm going to play the scream. But the limited edition model was limited to just 500 units, and it featured a numbered plaque, custom themed black back glass, cabinet artwork, as well as a shaker motor and anti-reflection glass. The premium and limited edition models also feature an interactive ghost hologram target with animations, a paranormal magnetic action slingshot, distinctive rank architecture, and additional custom molded toys. So let's look at a clip, a very brief clip of the scream. I love this clip from the Ghostbusters 2016 pinball machine. Good guess. I can't believe that is real. My audience is smart. Here's a 21-second clip. Now that's a scream. That's a damn good scream. Let's move on to another G letter. That was a hard game to play. Trust me. What, Ghostbusters? K Moonin said 2016 Ghostbusters. What a waste of a pinball machine. That's a fun game, though. It really is. No matter what you think of the movie. All right. What else with the letter G? Mr. Von Spiegel was very, very close. Jim Von Spiegel was very close. Close, but no cigar. What do you think? All right. Well, I'm going to reveal the answer in the interest of time. I don't want to take up too much time playing guessing games, but it would be GoldenEye. GoldenEye, a James Bond movie. Close. You had guessed Goldfinger. Not a bad guess, but GoldenEye. That is the United Kingdom movie poster for GoldenEye. Here is the GoldenEye pinball flyer. Look at that. Cool artwork. There's on the top, Famke Janssen on the left, who went on to play in the X-Men movies. I really liked her acting in those films as Jean Grey, Marvel Girl turned Phoenix, and then Dark Phoenix. But there's the GoldenEye flyer. A little bit of a history about the film, though. That was the first movie starring Pierce Brosnan as 007. That was the first 007 movie released in 1995 after a long absence. 1989's License to Kill starring Timothy Dalton. But then Bond returned with a brand new actor with the Radio City Music Hall premiere on November 13th, 1995. Wide release in the U.S. was November 17th, 1995, and then November 24th, 1995, this film was released in the United Kingdom. It was 130 minutes long, so that's 2 hours and 10 minutes in length. The budget was $60 million, but it earned $356.4 million. The game was made by Sega Pinball, like the Sega console manufacturer, Sega Pinball. Let me be clear. And they released this in March of 1996. The system is the Sega White Star. The design was by Ward Pemberton. The programming by John Carpenter, not The Night He Came Home, John Carpenter, Halloween, but a different John Carpenter. Neil Falconer and Oren with an O, Oren Day. Artwork by Paul Ferris. Mechanics by Rob Hurtado. Music and sound by Brian L. Schmidt. There were 2,200 machines made of GoldenEye. And I do have a clip. Look at the back glass art. How do you like that? Pretty cool artwork for the GoldenEye Sega pinball machine. We're almost to my, all right, one more, and then we'll get to my machine and one of the ones in my collection. Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure, based on the original trilogy of films. But let's look at a clip of GoldenEye really quickly. Let me put this up as a placeholder in my photos. That's a technical thing. Anyone who uses StreamYard knows what I'm talking about. It kind of jumps. All right, here's the GoldenEye. Why do I have two clips? We can't watch all that. Let's look at the, I must have liked these. Yeah, I do like this perspective. Okay, here we go.
Shoot the flashing lamps.
Transmission begins from Moneypenny. Take it to quick while you're still here. Transmission begins from Moneypenny.
Delia, what are you doing? Oh. How about an extra call?
Transmission begins from Moneypenny.
Flashing lamp. All up. Hurry. This is your last. Hurry. I am invincible. Flashing lamp. Good work.
Very good, Mr. Bond.
Shoot again. Shoot the flashing ramps. This is Galacta. This is Galacta.
Transmission begins from Moneypenny.
Shoot the car. Send the message. Get out.
Play this to quit while you're still here. Very good, Mr. Bond.
Shoot the flashing ramps.
Transmission begins from Moneypenny.
Bear with me. This is a fun clip. Yeah, that's tough about George Foreman, I heard. Great hamburger maker.
3, 2, exactly. Good work.
Very good, Mr. Bond.
Left. Shoot the flashing rounds. Wall up. Left. Shoot the flashing rounds.
No, hit the flashing ramp, dummy.
The kill.
Quit while you're still here.
This is Galacta. Sweet dreams.
I want you to find GoldenEye.
Game over, man. Game over. Hey, it's game over for George Foreman, unfortunately. Thank you, Tracy, for sharing that news with us. Terrible, terrible news. All I got to say about that is a great scream that is. No, seriously, I like George Foreman. The George Foreman grill, never had the pleasure of making a burger with that, but he sure sold a ton of those units. That really sucks. He was a great boxer. He was in the $6 Million Man season 3 episode with Lee Majors. That really, really was a memorable episode back when he had hair. Rest in peace. I don't want to date the show and talk about stuff like that too much, recent events, but I'm glad you mentioned it. Let me put some comments on the screen that came in relating to that and other stuff about James Bond specifically. Jim Von Spiegel said they need to announce a new James Bond. I agree. They sure do. We'll talk about our sponsor, one of our sponsors later. Appreciate that, Keebler. Yes, Jerry, that was a hard game to play. And Jim Von Spiegel said there had to be a lot of pinball machines about James Bond movies. Yeah, there were a few, no doubt. Need to announce a Bond. Just heard George Foreman died. Very sad. Great action on that Bond game, said Jim Von Spiegel. I agree. Jerry Dobson in Michigan State said they need a daughter of Bond, Janet Bond, 008. Ha ha. And then Jim Von Spiegel added, she was born in the last Daniel Craig James Bond movie. Jerry responded, that interesting. Danny Staten said, wow, George Foreman died. He was like 90. No, he was not like 90. Danny Staten said, K. Munin, he was 76. Yep. Yeah, no, seriously. Not being flippant. We all die eventually. No one gets off the spaceship alive unless you have something I shouldn't mention because they'll flag my show as a political show unless you drink blood, certain type of blood. I'm kidding. K. Moonen said, be very careful when asking for a new 007 movie. Who knows how bad they could mess up the franchise nowadays. It must be British. You know what? I do not want an American actor or a Welsh actor or an Australian actor. We already tried an Australian actor with George Lazenby in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and that did not work out too well. He was a horrible James Bond. I like the movie, though. They had a Christmas scene in it, and it was the only time James Bond was married, right, to Teresa Bond, played by the luscious and immortal on film, Emma Peel. I'm kidding. Emma Peel, that was her character in The Avengers. I am sorry. Why? Don't be sorry. Why are you? I'm glad you mentioned it. No, I'm not. There's nothing. No. Tracy Bond or Teresa Bond, depending. And it showed her grave in the Roger Moore movie, For Your Eyes Only. Why can't I think of that dame's name? And I mean it literally. She should have been damed. I mean knighted. The female version of knighted. You're a dame. That dame's name, Emma Peel. Why do I do this all the time? Emma Peel. Emma Peel was played by Diana Rigg. See, it kicked into my brain right when I punched the button. Diana Rigg played Teresa Bond in On Her Majesty's Secret Service with the British actor George Lazenby, who played 007 in that movie. He wasn't very good. All right, Diana Rigg. Thank you, John. And Emma Peel was her character in The Avengers. Whew. Said Tracy. Okay, let's get back. We only got one more to go, and there's no clip because y'all are going to hate me. I'm not a big fan of these movies. I know I'm in the minority. You're going to just hate me for this, but the next movie is an H movie, begins with the letter H. A pinball machine was made for this film or series of films. Let's just get right to it because we're approaching the 3-hour mark, and I don't want to go too far over 3 hours. And it's 10:48 p.m. People are going to get sleepy that worked all day. Okay, movie that begins with H. I'll just tell you, it's The Hobbit. I'm not a big fan of these movies. I find them boring. I think it looks fake when these people are supposed to be little people. I don't think that was done particularly well in the Lord of the Rings movies. When Sean Astin is supposed to be a dwarf, it didn't work for me. I'm sorry. I know they're not bad movies. They're really good movies. And, but there's the Hobbit pinball machine. I'll tell you briefly about it. And then we'll move on to my pinball game footage that I shot The Hobbit. Well, it's a series of movies. The first one was released on December 14th, 2012, An Unexpected Journey. And then a year later, of course, filmed at the same time on December 13th, 2013, you had The Dissolution of Smaug. And then on December 17th, 2014, you had The Battle of the Fire Armies. Oh boy, a big trilogy of crap. I'm kidding. I know you're going to be mad at me. I'm sorry, K. Moonen. But the pinball machine was made by Jersey Jack Pinball. How fitting. Released in March of 2016. The design was by Joe Balcer, Balcer. Artwork by Jean-Paul DeWin. Music by Two Steps from Hell. How nice. Sound by David Thiel. Like Nick Thiel, the editor of 8 is Enough and season 1 of... No, Nick Thiel, the writer of 8 is Enough and season 1 of Fall Guy. I thought he wrote some of the best Fall Guys, but he left after season 1, unfortunately. But David Thiel, Thiel, did the sound. There were 4,000 units made of this pinball game. Now we're finally going to get to mine. This is the 15th we featured tonight. Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure. Let's talk about it. And I'll show you clips of my prototype machine. Very rare collectible. Of course, it's based on the films. There's the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie poster. And let's briefly talk about it. Thank you for the fun chance. You're welcome. Hobbit. Didn't see that coming. Is it Halloween? There is a Halloween. I'm going to feature that next time. There is a Halloween pinball machine, and it's bad to the bone. It's a recent one, a more recent one. But Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's a good call there. Of course, the first film was released in 1981. Specifically, and it was directed by Steven Spielberg on June 12th, 1981, released by Paramount Pictures and distributed by Paramount Pictures. Awesome movie. And then the second film in the series, The Temple of Doom. Here's the movie poster for that. There you go. That's a variant movie poster. The second film, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which was a prequel, was released on May 23rd, 1984 in the USA. And I didn't talk about the totals. Let me go back because I always like to talk about the box office really quickly. Raiders of the Lost Ark, budget versus box office. The budget was $20 million, but it made $389.9 million at the box office. Amazing, amazing success. The sequel cost $28.17 million to make, and it earned $333.1 million. I like the Temple of Doom. People would shoot it down. The critics were not kind to it. They made fun of Willie, the character of Willie, played by future Mrs. Steven Spielberg, Kate Capshaw. I liked her character. She was different. Oh, she's a ditz. Marion was smart in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I read several reviews with that kind of mind think. But there were different characters. She was ambitious. She was sexy. I thought she was funny. I liked Willie. But then The Last Crusade, the final film in the original trilogy, was released on May 24th, 1989 in the U.S. with a budget of $48 million. Bigger budget, almost more than double of the first two in the trilogy. And that $48 million yielded $472.2 million at the box office. Let's look at that movie poster, shall we? And there's that movie poster. Well, that's the variation. Yeah, that is, well, there's the movie poster, but it's a strange. There is the back glass of the pinball machine, my pinball machine. And here's one that got jazzed up by somebody. I like that variation of the Indiana Jones back glass. There is the arcade version. It has cheap plastic where mine has steel. Now we're going to finally look at my video that I shot of my pinball machine. One of the two in my collection, Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure. Let me do that as a placeholder. And I have a couple other nostalgic tidbits before we sign off tonight. I apologize to the listeners. This has been a very visual show, but hopefully you could enjoy some of the sound effects. Let's look. Oh, I didn't show. Well, I guess it's too late, but I'm all over the place. I did want to show a little bit. Well, I'll do it towards the end. I have a little more of GoldenEye. I showed so much of it. I like that angle. Maybe I won't show it. All right, here's Indiana Jones, my prototype. I shot this today just for you all. Let's watch. Hello, I'm Chance Bartels for the Nostalgic PodBlast, and I wanted to give a quick demo of my prototype pinball machine of Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure, which was manufactured in the year 1993 by Williams Electronics in Chicago, Illinois. There's some interesting differences with my machine. I've removed the glass so you can see it better. Difference number one. This is the Path of Adventure, which is a third level, three-dimensional element that can tilt left or right when you utilize the flipper buttons. And there's different prizes you can get. There's extra balls. There's monetary, well, really point prizes in the pit. And the difference with my machine, steel. There's steel walls instead of red plastic. Even the Indiana Jones Pinball Adventure in Disneyland in Anaheim, California, has the standard arcade version with the plastic. And that particular model, which was located in the merchandise gift shop next to the roller coaster for Raiders of the Lost Ark at Disneyland, it has this hard wood encasing to protect the cabinets, the wood cabinets, from children or someone that might damage the machine. But I digress. Another difference with my model, you have Indy right there on the rope bridge from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That artwork is not in the standard arcade models. Also, these elements light up in the prototype. You have, of course, the Ark of the Covenant and the stone from Temple of Doom and the chalice from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Sorry, some dust back there. Now, since I've removed the glass, you can see it a little bit better. There's also 12 modes, and there's 4 from each of the original trilogy of films. So from Raiders of the Lost Ark, you have Get the Idol. You have the Streets of Cairo, where you're wanting to find Marion amongst the baskets. Well of the Souls, which is a 6-ball multi-ball feature. And then you have this video element. It's actually a video game within the pinball machine where you have a shootout in Marion's bar. And you use the gun. There's not a plunger like with most pinball machines. There's a gun you fire to release the ball. And you use that gun to shoot the bad guys in the bar and use the flippers to aim left or right. Then from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, you have Monkey Brains mode. It's a mode where you eat the disgusting food and you have all these burping sound effects. By the way, this does have Skywalker sound. And then there's Steal the Stones, where you get the stones using the Path of Adventure. And that's, of course, from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Then here is video game number 2 of 3, the video mode for Escape in the Minecart. You go through the minecart, look at the monitor, and use the flippers to turn left or right. And then you have Survive the Rope Bridge from Temple of Doom, which is a really cool video mode where you go up the ramps to save Marion and the kid. And then you have from the 3rd film in the original trilogy, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, you have the Castle Gruenwald game feature where you want to rescue Dad. It's Willie on the bridge, not Marion. Hit the captive ball. There's a captive ball right there behind that idol. Then you have the tank chase where you also want to rescue Dad, and you just simply have the ball go along these sensors, and you try to have the tank go over a cliff and explode. You can actually win each mode, and you get a bonus. I haven't mentioned that yet when you conclude the mode. Then you have 3 challenges, which also Sean Connery also utilizes the Path of Adventure. You have to go up this ramp, one of the 2 ramps, to access the Path of Adventure when it's lit. And it will really flash really rapidly. Path of Adventure will when that mode is in operation, where you can actually access this, because otherwise there's a little doohickey that will block the ball. If you hit it up there, and then it'll just release it, but it won't take it to the Path of Adventure. And then you have extra ball features. You have bonus point features with the Path of Adventure. It's really cool, making that thing turn left or right. And then Choose Wisely is the 3rd video game mode, and it's like the classic shell game, where one of the chalices flashes at the beginning of the mode, and you're supposed to keep your eye on it, and it rapidly spins around. If you choose wisely, you get 25 million points. If you choose poorly, you become a skeleton, just like Julian Glover's character did. That's the actor who played the villain in that film. All right, now I've taken the glass apart to show you some of the modes, so let's start the game. Hit the start button. I'm going to just take the ball. I'm going to launch it. And then take the ball. So let's pretend we get a mode. How you get a mode is you take the ball and you land it in the saucer. What was the other thing? Oh, I didn't mention. The other difference is there's another button in the arcade version that will buy a super ball, which is an extra ball that you can pay. You put tokens or quarters in. But I have my game set to free play mode. In mine, you just pull the trigger to get the super ball. Okay, let's get the first mode.
Cairo, city of the living.
Okay, we want to find Marion by going up these arrows. Let's just press it. She's not there. Could she be up this ramp? If I can get it up the ramp. Let's see, what do I need to do? I need to hit. Come on, man. Oh. Not there. Is she here? I found her! And now you want to kill this guy with the gun. You just pull the trigger, like so. Pull the trigger and you get a bonus. So now we're going to do another mode, and it's the one that's lit. It's Well of the Soul, 6-ball multi-ball coming right up. Whoa! 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 Lock the ball. I gotta keep this video to under 10 minutes with StreamYard constraints, so hang on. Alright, let me grab the other ball. Oh, here's the first video game mode. The shootout. Let's try this. It's hard to do this with one. I can't even get him. Oh no, I blew it. I couldn't use, I'm using one hand to hold my phone, so I couldn't turn to fire at the bad guys. Alright, quickly. Monkey brains!
Monkey brains.
So let's just go up the ramp. By pressing the button, we're going to cheat. Go down the drain. Oh, I'm having a great game. I wonder why. Because there's no glass. I'm cheating. Cheating. I cheat. I love it.
I hate the water, and I hate you.
All right. Next mode. Steal the stones. Temple of them.
What a vivid imagination.
I didn't think I gotta get it.
Prepare to meet Kali
In hell. Oh shit. I cannot get it up the thing. Come on.
Get out of
This is terrible photography. I have to let it go down. Wait, no. Yeah, let it go down the drain. I'll show you another mode for time runs out. I can show you the mine cart. Quickly. I can't keep this under 10 minutes. Give me the ball! Where's the ball? Oh, right here. Come on. Give me the ball. Hello, ball. Go. My hand is... Oh,
we can at least behave like civilized people.
Well, now I won't have time to show you the next one unless I do another video. That's what I'll do. I'll stop it. Epic fail. Epic fail. All right, I'll be back. Epic fail indeed. Yeah, that was today. I have another 6 minutes to show you of some of the other modes in my indie pinball game. It gets really, really wild. I didn't tell you some facts about the game. It was released in August of 1993 by Williams Electronics. The system is Williams WPC with DCS sound, designed by Mark Ritchie. His last name is spelled Ritchie, and Doug Watson. Like elementary, my dear Watson. Programmed by Doug Eddy, with artwork by Doug Watson. Mechanics by Jack Scalon, Skalon. Music by Chris Granner, who also did the music of my other machine, Cyclone, from 1988 by Williams, with an amusement park theme. And sound on Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure by Rich Karstens, with original voices by John Rhys Davies, who played Salah in the Indiana Jones movies. There were 12,716 regular versions produced of this game, and mine's a prototype, so it has steel instead of plastic. It has more things that light up. I explained it in the video. By the way, this is part of my fake rant of the week. Just so you know, I shot that in HD. StreamYard, I pay for a 1080p HD version. They wouldn't allow the HD clip. I had to downsize it to 720 for it to fit into StreamYard, which is BS. I pay for HD. My clip is HD. It should be presented in HD. So what I'm going to do is just present it solo as a video in the Nostalgic PodBlast YouTube channel in full HD. The two clips I'm showing of my machine, the prototype. So Indiana Jones: The Pinball Adventure is a wide body game, so it's wider than normal, designed by Mark Ritchie. I know I already said that. The younger brother of acclaimed pinball designer Steve Ritchie, and released by Williams. It is based on the first three Indiana Jones movies. It is also part of the WMS Super Pin series of wide body games, which includes Star Trek: The Next Generation, that year, 1993, by Williams, and The Twilight Zone by Bally, which is the same company as Williams, Bally, Williams. And those were wide. And this game was the first game to use Williams Midway's DCS sound system. It features sound clips from the first three films, and actor John Rhys Davies reprising his role as Salah in new speech for the game. It also included portions of the John Williams score from the films, like in the Marion mode I showed, where you're trying to find Marion. Yeah, I love that part of the original score from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Doug Watson and Mark Ritchie traveled to Skywalker Ranch and were allowed access to the archive of movie props before designing the playfield table for the pinball game. Lucasfilm initially had the idea, and the table should be based on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, but were quickly persuaded it should be based on the films. Thank gosh they weren't yes men. One of these machines with a customized cabinet was in the same location at Disneyland in Anaheim, California for about 30 years. Most of that time, it was at the Indiana Jones Adventure Outpost, the gift shop for the Indiana Jones Adventure roller coaster. Another machine, simply titled Indiana Jones, was released in April 2008 by Stern Pinball. It includes elements from the fourth film, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Not one of the best indie films. Okay, now some notable quick features. There's a 6-ball multi-ball. You saw that. Instead of a simple launch button, there's a pistol that fires the ball. Showed you that. Talked about that. The Path of Adventure has a long-shaped mini playfield. I showed you that. And there's a total of 12 modes. All right, I'm just going to show you instead of telling you about it. I've shown you some of them just now. Let's see. Yeah, let's look at another 6 minutes of my machine, my prototype machine. Part 2 of the mode demonstration. All right, here's the ball. Next mode, minecart, video game mode. Shit. I'm hoping I have to turn left. Left. Right. It's a cool mode. I wish I could have shown you more of it. All right. Rope bridge. Love this mode. Rope bridge. Cheat. By pressing this. Get the extra ball. Get up in there. That's what she said. There.
Where's my father? They held in the belly of that steel beast.
Next move, the 3 challenges, which requires accessing and gaining access to the path of adventure. Let's go.
You're meddling with powers you cannot possibly comprehend.
A breath of God.
Dang it! I can't even throw the ball up the thing. Even with the glass off. Damn, I want to show you what happens when you get the 3rd challenge. Mode number 3. Choose wisely. My favorite, the shell game.
You must choose. But choose wisely.
I lost it, I'm gonna guess. Is it here?
You have chosen poorly.
Story of my life. Alright, here's the ball. Now get the idol. Whoops. The first mode.
There's nothing to fear here.
So you want to get the ball to hit these targets.
Who are you?
And then you put the ball in the hole, which is also how you lock balls for multi-ball. The game thinks I locked the ball, which I technically did by cheating.
Junior? It is you, Junior.
Now we're going to get the Castle Grunwald mode.
I came here to save you. To save you, Junior.
Oh, come on, where'd the ball stuck? No.
I should have mailed it to the monster. Will you take it easy?
You call this archaeology? I told you! Don't call me Junior. Come on, Dad.
Now, once you get all the modes, check this out. Very hard to do. You get like a super mode. Let's watch.
Eternal life, Dr. Jones. Collect everything!
Oh, God, it's going crazy. You get 6-ball, multi-ball. You're supposed to hit every target. You get 1 billion points. So I should have done that at night. I'm going to try again. You couldn't even see the billion shot. There's so much more yet to be shown from that game. I just love that game. I'm proud to have it in my collection. And the prototype. And in case you missed the beginning of the show, I bought that in 1996 from 2001, which is an arcade. It's in 2001, A Space Odyssey at the Cobb Galleria Mall. It's long defunct, but I bought it in 1996 for $1,600. But that's like one of the very first ones. I think it's the fifth one ever made by Williams Electronics, and it was not intended for use by the public. And it has steel instead of cheap plastic, yada, 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 and those other differences I mentioned before. So that concludes this edition of the first part of my series about pinball machines based on popular movies. And we'll pick it up again in a future PodBlast in alphabetical order. And I did skip a couple, but we'll get back to them. So let's get to the comments. Neat machine, said Tracy. Yes, it's fun. Keebler says, hey, I need someone to hold it while I play or get a tripod. I know, and I said that earlier. I know you were late. I did mention that. I know the photography sucked. I'm like bobbling all around downstairs. Excellent live stream tonight. Glad I got to watch it live. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Hey, take it easy. I still got some more nostalgic stuff. I know it's late, though, but that will conclude our pinball. I have other things to talk about, but it won't be much longer. I'll probably try to wrap within 25 minutes. Jim Von Spiegel joked, how many arcades we've been thrown out of for removing the glass? Exactly. And it is an awesome condition. I'm proud to have that in my collection. Let me do this. Let me turn off the virtual pinball background since we're not going to do, let me see if I remember how to turn it off. I think I do that. Do I not? Yeah, none. There we go. Hello, everybody. Hello, governor. All right, so let me get back to I should turn my sign on. I have some footage I shot in 1988 in an arcade. I might as well share it with you now. I am going to do a series on arcade games, but here is, it still works. This is the camcorder that I filmed. This footage is only a minute long clip using this micro tape that has to be converted to a VHS tape. Now, this is a video of a video because I had converted this to regular VHS size and then copied that. So it's second generation, but it's not horrible. Here's me at Tilt Arcade at Perimeter Mall. I'm going to feature this video that I shot in 1988, including me getting thrown out by mall security and threatened to be incarcerated by a redneck. Back when I was a kid, I was a teenager. I think I was 16. And also I show a McDonald's in 1988 and Fraggle Rock toys. And you see ashtrays on the tables at the McDonald's at Perimeter Mall at that time. So I'm going to, in nostalgic segments, I'm going to release this entire half-hour video. But here's the first piece of it. It's a minute long at the arcade. Let me see if I can find it. Here's Tilt. It's a minute and 60 minutes long, and I'm a real jerk. Big surprise. I'm messing with people. I do Man on the Street. I was a big fan of Late Night with David Letterman on NBC. And so I do it in the style of Letterman. I'm like a wannabe Letterman here with my friends. But here's Tilt Arcade, March of 1988.
This is the hangout. This is the scene. This is where all the cool dudes hang out. Let's go fuck with them, huh? Hey, do you got a quarter, man? Do you got a... They look lovely. Look at that ass. Woo-wee! There's old man Wilson. Closing shop. Yeah, find the right key, old man. This is America's youth. Look how they're spending their time playing Marble Madness. Hey, you got a quarter, man? You got a quarter? No? Hot damn. Smoking! Sucks. Hey, I need a quarter. Let's see if this guy's got a quarter. Hey, sir. Excuse me, do you have a quarter? Come on, man, be cool. Be cool. Blood. Hey, you. Hey, Wimp, I like your shoes. Hey, I saw you flick me off. Come on, hang.
That's why I got thrown out of the mall for being a jerk to those people. Anyway, that's just a piece of a video. It's going to be coming soon to my Nostalgic PodBlast YouTube channel. But, yeah, I filmed it with this camcorder right here. And it had a pinball machine in there. Let's see here. This very machine, and it still works. It's a JVC 1987. I know I saved you. Where are you, my little friend? It is. I want to show you the promotional piece. Sorry about that bad language there, by the way. Here it is, and it still works. JVC. There's an ad for it that video was shot on. But I'm going to release the whole thing after I've done it in sections in better quality, directly transferred digitally from this original micro cassette of that video. So it's kind of neat to go back in time and see a shopping mall arcade. And that was Tilt from March of '88. And when I go smoking, that was before the Jim Carrey movie, The Mask, where that was one of his character's signature lines, smoking. I'm not saying he copied me, but that's long before the iPhone, long before the internet. So it's just a coincidence, of course. I'm not that paranoid, but it was a funny coincidence. Okay, so let's see what else I have prepared. Some nostalgic news. Let me get to my script. And I got to talk about Remind Magazine before too long. Real cool nostalgic news as we're live. Now, I don't want to date the show, but did you know that on March 22nd, 1976, Star Wars began production in Tunisia, in Africa, the continent of Africa, in the country of Tunisia. And here's the first behind the scenes photo of any Star Wars property. And that's the original Star Wars movie. So Star Wars began filming on Monday, March 22nd, 1976 in Africa. And that's possibly the very first behind the scenes photo. And that's from day one of production of the original Star Wars, released in limited release on May 25th, 1977. And there's Mark Hamill in his Luke Skywalker farm boy costume in the early morning of March 22nd, 1976, the very first day of filming. Matter of fact, since this photo of Mark was taken just before the first scene of the day, this could arguably be considered as the very first behind-the-scenes Star Wars photo ever taken. Mark Hamill himself once commented about this photo on his Twitter page. He tweeted, now it's X, taken in Tunisia, early morning, day one, waiting for my first shot, emerging from my home for the robot auction, perhaps the very first. So that's pretty cool. Also on March 21st, but on 1976, the same day this was shot, guess what? No, March 21st, not 22nd. I'm sorry, the day before this. I'm messing up bad tonight. Day before this, a TV movie aired called Charlie's Angels, which really was a pilot by Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg. And there's David Spire back there in the background before he was on MASH. There he is in episode 1, which is really a 90-minute pilot for Charlie's Angels. So this aired on Sunday, March 21st, 1976, 49 years ago, or 50 years ago, if you're watching the replay of this a year from now. Another quick item. Oh, man, this is why I played a little promo to Dallas at the beginning of the show. The episode where Larry Hagman as JR was shown, where he shot, aired. And that aired on this date, on March 21st, 1980, which was 45 years ago as we're live. On Friday, March 21st, 1980, just before 11 p.m. on CBS, JR finally got his. And the worldwide craze was born called Who Shot JR? That was from 45 years ago. The resolution episode where we finally learned who did it aired in season 4 on my birthday, November 21st, 1980, where the world learned who shot JR. And I won't spoil it, even though the spoiler is about 50 years old almost. Well, 45, almost 45 years ago this November. Another item, sadly, actor Wings Hauser passed away. I'm not going to play a clip or show a video, but I really liked this guy, his acting. He did a movie called Vice Squad, a very brutal R-rated movie where he played a character named Ramrod, where he was targeting prostitutes and killing them. And he was actually, no, he was their pimp is what it was. I haven't seen it since HBO, you know, when I was a teenager, many years, but I remember, yeah, he, and there was a scene where one of the prostitutes locked herself out. I think it's a hotel room. She locked herself or locked him out of the room. He's like, come on, baby, let me in, let me in. And she goes, you won't hurt me. And he goes, yeah, I won't hurt you. And she opens the door and he goes, you are so stupid, or something like that. It was a brutal scene. That's not even one of the brutal scenes. That's like one of the tamer scenes, but he played such a good bad guy. He was a really nice guy in real life, of course. And he was in only one Fall Guy episode. I have it on 16mm film along with the entire series. And it's the final episode of season 2, which guest star Heather Locklear was in. Second time Heather Locklear was on Fall Guy, along with Heather Thomas. And it's a great episode that the writer wrote for Marquee Post, where she infiltrates a cult, like a compound that Wings Hauser and his wife is running, and they're just capturing rich people and brainwashing them and taking their inheritance or taking their money. And Terry goes in, played by Marquee Post, to infiltrate, and she pretends to be a Valley girl. It's actually not a bad episode. And ironically, in the rotation on Heroes and Icons, it aired the day it was announced that Wing Hauser had passed away. Just because it was in the rotation, it wasn't like they played it in memoriam of the actor. Kind of weird. But it aired last Thursday, the day that he was announced to be dead, unfortunately. Let me look up something on Wings. I didn't prepare this, and then we'll start to wrap the show. The Nostalgic PodBlast. I will be back next week, Lord willing, with another. I think I'll do part 2 of the Women of Star Trek, and then we'll alternate, and then I'll do more of the movie Pinball Machines. I don't want to be too boring because a lot of people hate Star Trek. A lot of people hate pinball, and the pinball topic is terrible for listeners. It's more visual, but unless people enjoy the sound effects and the music, I try to find the best clips with the best audio for that reason. Okay, Wings Hauser. He did a lot of acting. He was in Beverly Hills 90210, among many other things. I like that show. A lot of people didn't like it. I like Beverly Hills 90210. Yeah, he was born on December 12th, 47. Okay, he passed on March 15th, 2025. It was just reported days later. So rest in peace to Wings Hauser. He was 77 years of age. And rest in peace to George Foreman, one of the best boxers of all time, and one of the nicest guys, reportedly. I never met the man, but he supposedly was one of the best people ever you could ever want to meet. And I loved him, and he's so personable in those infomercials for his George Foreman grill. He made a mint off selling those, in addition to his lucrative boxing deals and contracts. And he had his children were he had several children. Well, we won't get into that, but rest in peace to Wings Hauser and George Foreman. Very tough. Now, oh gosh, tomorrow is the birthday of William Shatner. As we're live, I don't want to date the show. I hate to do that. I used to do birthdays all the time on the show, but I realized it's not good for the replay value. Not replays in pinball. Let's see what I'd prepared about Mr. Shatner, if anything. Well, I do have some pictures. Let me get the photos up of Shatner. I can at least show those. Now, I know BK will talk about him because it falls on the day he's on the air. He's on the air every Saturday. So that'll be fun to listen to BK on the air on WBHF through their app. It doesn't matter if you're within their terrestrial radio signal or not. When you have the internet, you could stream that radio station. It's been around since, I think, 1946, that radio station. So happy birthday to William Shatner. This is a dated photo. He is going to be, I love that little collage that someone else designed. I want to say happy birthday to Canadian actor and pop culture icon William Shatner, who was born on Sunday, March 22nd, 1931 in Montreal in Canada. Awesome career, of course. Just think he's just fantastic. So what would that make him? He is 93. No, 94. He's 94 years of age. Unbelievable. What a great career, and he's still going strong at the age of 94. That's fantastic, man. Happy birthday to William Shatner, and we'll see what clips BK's got on his radio show, BK on the air, tomorrow. I'll be tuning in for that for sure. Let's see here. A great Canadian hero. That's William Shatner. Let's see. I was going to talk about the history of arcades. I'm going to save that for when I get to video games down the line in 2025 in the Nostalgic PodBlast. Otherwise, this would be a 7-hour PodBlast. And it's getting late in the East Coast. It's almost 11:30 on the East on Friday night. Let me just skip ahead, see what other things I'd prepared. Oh, I do want to talk about my Nostalgic Rant of the Week, so I got to pull up my video piece. That's what she said, my video piece. Thought I had another Shatner picture. Let me see here. Yeah, I did. It's coming up now. God dang it. Oh, shoot. No, that was Who Shot JR. Shoot. Okay. Oh, yeah, I have to delete. Oh, damn. I just have a couple of interesting pictures of Shatner I want to share. I know I stepped off that. I forgot. There's Shatner with Heather Thomas. Speaking of Heather Thomas, at the formerly great Battle of the Network Stars. That was a lot of fun. They were on the same team, Team ABC back then. And I have this publicity shot of Shatner. And he's got the laser rifle from Where No Man's Gone Before, which was the second pilot. Talked about it last time. But that's a season 1 uniform, though, which is kind of interesting. But that weapon was only in Where No Man's Gone Before, which did air as a regular episode. I like that publicity. It's faded over time. It used to have perfect color. That my 8x10 of that, it's faded over time. It used to be in perfect color. But that's a great shot of William Shatner holding the laser rifle. But yet he's wearing a season 1. But look, the solid gold command rings are like they are in the pilot as well. So it's kind of interesting. It's a combination of like the first season and the second pilot outfit in a way. And so there's all that. Oh, got some comments coming in. When are you going to talk about books? That'd be a boring show. Good night, all, says Danny Staten. Good night, man. See ya. Take care. Thanks for being here. And Keebler says, I wasn't late. I was only lurking. Quickly, I got to talk about Remind Magazine. Go to remindmagazine.com. Take advantage of their subscription offer. You can give it as a gift for graduation or birthdays, or get it for yourself. If you're listening or watching this show, the Nostalgic PodBlast, the odds are, chances are, you're into nostalgia. Well, that's what Remind Magazine is all about. Specifically the 1950s through the 1990s. There's all sorts of brain-teasing puzzles and games. Let me show you what the current edition as we're live looks like. It's about the Rat Pack. What do I do with you, my little friend? Go to remindmagazine.com. Please mention the Nostalgic PodBlast when you order. And you can give this subscription for just $1 an issue for the first year only. On the newsstand, it's about $6, including tax. But this $12 includes shipping, and there's no sales tax. How about that? Excuse me. It's a great deal. Limited time only. And I think it goes to $24. In fact, I know it does for year 2 when you renew. But give yourself the gift of Remind Magazine. You'll love it. All sorts of interviews and articles. That's remindmagazine.com. Or you can call them old school at 855-773-6463. Thanks to Keebs for that. There you go. So let me just see if there's anything else I'd prepared. I could always save it for next time, but because I've gone 3 hours, 40 minutes. Ooh, that's a bit long. Let's see. Give a quick scan. Oh, I do want to give a shout out to a great convention, Stellar Fest. I'll be there. That's coming up April 4th through 6th. I'm going to interview Sandra Gimple and Marta Kristen, who played Judy Robinson, the original Lost in Space, and others. Go to their website, stellarfest.org, for more information. And it's just going to be a really good time. Now, Sandra was the woman in that man trap outfit. Talked about her last week. Here's a picture of her from the 60s. She's also from the 1960s, from 1966 specifically. And she played that creature. Oh my God. In the Man Trap, the 6th episode in production order, first one that ever aired on NBC. But she'll be there, and she's done stunts and a bunch of other stuff. Can't wait to meet her. Whoops, that was the wrong. Let me delete that so I don't do that again. But she'll be at Stellar Fest. It'll be April 4th through the 6th in Duluth, Georgia, at the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Arena. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're into science fiction, check them out. So I was honored that they reached out to me to be a part of their media event, and I can't wait to meet people there and meet the celebrities. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so let me see what other videos, if anything, I had to share. I did have my, oh, shoot, I didn't mean to do that. My fake rant of the week.
You want to fight? I'll give you a fight. Come on, punk. Come on. You want some more?
You want some more? John Crawford, actor there playing the bully. My favorite rant of the week, talked about it earlier. It's StreamYard not letting me present my clips in HD that were taped, recorded in HD with my iPhone of my pinball machine. It told me, oh no, it's too large. I pay for 1080p HD. That really ticked me off. Bending Spoons, they're bending our budgets. They jacked up the rates. They didn't honor my lifetime discount, and I paid back in November, so I'm good, late November. But still, to to claim, oh, well, you'll get it in HD now if you renew, and then to say the clips can't be in HD, the hell you say, sir or madam, that's BS. That really ticks me off. So that's my fake rant of the week, but it's a real rant. And then another part is something I've talked about before, the spam email where it says unsubscribe. I think that's a trick to click it. It's like clickbait, because when you click unsubscribe, it never works. It used to work. Now you get more spam than ever. So that's my 2 rants for this edition of the Nostalgic PodBlast. I want to say thanks to everybody tuned in. And thank you. She linked stellarfest.org. That's going to be a really fun convention for serious sci-fi fans. I want to say thanks to everyone who's watching live. Jerry Dobson in Michigan, Jim Von Spiegel in Ohio, Tracy of Tracy's Fractured History and More in Florida, Kay Moonen in Florida, Keebler in Texas State. Thank you for being here. One of my mods. Thank you for being the only mod that showed up. So that means a lot to me. Danny Staten in South Carolina, thanks for being here. BK of BK on the Air mentioned his radio show a lot. He was talking about some pinball machines that he likes earlier tonight. I'm grateful to him being here. And all the replay crew, anyone that watches after the fact or listens after the fact, whether you make your presence known or not, I know you're out there. I see the numbers. The numbers are good. I'm very, very grateful. Make sure I didn't leave anyone out that left a comment live. Let's see. And I know people like to correct me, and I'm glad you do, because I make mistakes. I don't like to make mistakes. I like to have the most factual program out there about pop culture history. This is an educational lecture program, and I thank everyone for listening at Fistful of Radio out of Atlanta, or Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, or Podbean, or Podcast.co, or any of the many audio platforms. You're very important to me, and thanks to all the YouTube subscribers and the people watching on Facebook Live. Okay, so I'm going to say goodnight. Let me pull up a little clip I prepared. And we'll catch you next time on the Nostalgic PodBlast. I'm going to close with Louis Roy. R-O-I is how you spell his last name. He's a musician. I've talked about him before. He did some covers. He's in a rock band, an awesome band, and he did Space Giants cover music. So I'm just going to close this out with his cover of the American Space Giants theme. The Space Giants are playing now on the Nostalgic PodBlast YouTube channel. Every episode ever made, I've uploaded episodes 1 through 40. Presently, there's 52 total episodes. There is an end to the storyline about an alien named Rodak trying to take over the Earth. And now I translated, thanks to Akiko, some scenes that were lost in translation in English. And now I even say when I'm in, when there's like an emergency coming up, like a storm, I think of the scene from the Christmas episode that was cut in U.S. syndication. This is really nuts, where I say, the only way to survive the storm is to surrender to Rodak, who's the emperor and God of the universe. I'm just kidding. That was my impression of Rodak. Pretty crazy. The only way to survive is to surrender Rodak, emperor and God. Pretty crazy, I know. All right. Good night, everybody. See you next time on the Nostalgic PodBlast. Peace out.